can't remember. What all did you print?
Let's go through it. I think there's a couple. All right, we'll just go through it.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of comments in them. So, yeah, live now. Now we officially have to be PG rated. We've never done a live with an extra person, so this will be interesting. Now I have to figure out how to make this bigger again. Oh, yeah, there it is. See, his number is jumping up now.
Is there a way to make the font bigger? Because if somebody asks something, I can't see it at all.
I just did. Make it like that. Can you see it now?
No.
It's not. If you pulled it up on your phone and looked at it, then I guess you could see it better probably. So there's 74 people in here now.
Yeah, I can approve people's comments then.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah. 70 good. So what are we doing?
We'll go through the comments, talk about videos we did, just answer some comments off here, just kind of hang out.
We printed these off.
Yeah.
Comments from videos, we'll do that. And what you guys say in here too. You got comments about the comments, that counts too.
Yeah, there we go. Comments about comments.
Yeah.
And we can even talk about some current NASCAR stuff if you want to. That's always fun.
Yeah. I might have to just let you handle that if I want to keep being able to do stuff.
I can't do that either.
What's that noise? It was playing an ad on her phone. Okay, well, you wanted to do this. What was burning on your mind that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I really appreciate, everybody that watched the videos and stuff like that. And there were some really good questions. And we got some printed out here and we'll kind of go through it. If you want to ask some questions there, we can do that. My background in cup racing goes back to 1993 through about 2013, 14, somewhere in there. Did some consultant work. I started the garage shop in around 2010, and we still did some consulting work for NASCAR. We also, this company, just, a little bit of background on the garage shop. We build all the fire trucks and rescue first responder vehicles for the F1 countries in the United States. All the fire trucks at Miami and Homestead in Las Vegas are all ours. We've built quite a few safety innovations for NASCAR for their training. The cutaway car, I think you've seen that one before, where they actually cut and remove the driver and then we put it all back together. They can basically, that car is really neat. It smokes, leaks water, all kind of stuff. They can cut the entire roof off of it and remove the driver and put the roof back on it and put the window panels back in it and put the driver back in 11 minutes.
Wow.
So that's pretty neat. That was a neat project. I think there's some video of that way down on our Instagram page down there. So, so that's kind of our background, so I'm not real sure that, a lot of people understood, kind of things we do. We also do high-end 3D printing. We've done stuff for the military, Homeland Security, all kind of fun stuff with that. We use Stratus 450s, big printers. We can print carbon fiber, Ultim, pretty much do anything you want. We do 3D scanning. We have an in-house engineering department that really works on a lot of other things besides our race car stuff. But, they have a lot of projects right now too. And the production shop leans on them pretty hard when it comes to designing roll cages, suspensions, figuring out problems, figuring out why things break and why they don't. So, but yeah, I'm ready to start going through these questions here.
Do you know this Jason guy? He's talking about somebody named Gino.
Yeah, I don't know Jason, but Gino was an engineer. He sadly passed away. He had a Trans Am car when we worked at DEI. He was an engineer over there. Wow. And his office was like, I don't know, it reminded me of like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. There was just stuff piled everywhere, and he knew where everything was. So, and Gino could build anything, could figure anything out. HA and I, John Klausmeyer, Chad Walters, we really enjoyed Gino, and I was really sad when he passed, but there'll never be another one like it, bro. So, we're gonna go kind of through here, I got this printed out, and we'll kind of go down through. I'm sorry, I should have been a little more prepared. I was on the farm this morning for a bit, getting some stuff done over there. But we kind of go down through some of the comments. One of them was the fella that said something about the Justin Weiss. Your opinion? I'm going to read this to you on what I thought of the adjustable upper A-frames, and it was intriguing. And you say that basically that you run them on your dirt car, and they see a real high load and all that stuff. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, I'd be interested to see the engineering on the load numbers. I actually have it because we did a project for Penske Racing Shocks on dirt late models. So it'd be cool to match your data up on the wheel loads with our data up that we did with Penske Shocks with a dirt late model program. And then we could maybe do a FEA program on these upper control arms. I'm betting you're right. They'd probably be pretty good for a dirt car that doesn't see a real high wheel load, not as high as you think. But like places like Daytona, stuff like that with a 34 or 500 pound stock car going 200 mile an hour, leaning up on the right front in one of those adjustable A-frames, that might be good for a lap or two. I don't believe I'd race it. But, thanks. That was pretty cool. And I appreciate that. That was one of mine here. You pick one.
Well, this Josh Royce here has a question for you. Where do you think DEI would be today if Junior and Ty Norris would have stayed, or would that have made a difference?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of other people that could answer that. It was a great place to work and also very confusing at the same time, post-Dale. I can understand why things kind of they went. If that was my family and it was torn apart like that, I don't believe I'd want much to do with that place either. So, that's kind of how I feel about it. Is I feel bad for them that what happened. And, I think it's awful pretentious for a lot of people to think, oh, they should have carried it on. Well, they didn't lose their, matriarch there, the leader of the deal, and then expect to carry it on. I think that's harder than what it seems. But that's my answer.
How about this guy? We'll get real into the meat here. Say, Joe Hoover.
Oh yeah, Joe. I was,
best friend Joe Hoover. What does he think that you're like being a baby for saying you can't restore that Thunderbird or something? Is that...
Yes. And Joe, I really appreciate your comment. It kind of made me smile. It reminded me a lot of cars we get here from people that say they can do work for cheap and you could restore that thing, and I was being lazy. The end of the road for that car is it worth restoring to a high level? Is that car worth spending, 50, 60 grand on to make it a competitive car, a good car? It's not. There's a lot of other cars out there with some history that would be that. Exactly what I said about that car is it needs to go to somebody that has a nice little shop at their house and with a little bit of knowledge and the fortitude to ask people for help. And they can do a lot of the work themselves, which at that point, that car would be a good deal. Putting an LS motor in it and hacking it up and all your nonsense with the turbos and the brakes are fine. And I'm real familiar with your F40 project. I know the people that did it. We're pretty heavily involved out there in land speed. We've actually set quite a few records at Bonneville and El Mirage. And that I don't think I'd be bragging on that. I don't think I'd do that. It's a cool project, but I don't think it really hit the speed that I think everybody thought it would. I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I remember it not being that sporty. It was cool though, very cool. But Joe, my offer to you is stop doing things so cheap because your shit ends up here at my shop, and people are upset. So that's all. You're more than welcome. I'll give you a job. You're more than welcome to come here. I like your tenacity. So if you want to work here, come on. We'll show you. We'll put you in the production floor and go from there. But thanks for your input.
I guess there was a couple people that noticed in that video you said I don't know. I don't have my glasses, but you had your glasses on your head.
I saw that. I think there was an edit there because I usually wear my glasses under my hat, and I think when I look back, I think I did put my glasses on. I don't know.
I couldn't find it either.
I've been known to not know I have my glasses on. I actually lost them this morning, and I got these like safety glasses on. So, yeah, that was interesting.
So obviously, a lot of these cars were from Bring a Trailer.
Yeah, and again, back to that little orange car, it's worth something to somebody. I'm just not going to recommend to my customer that you go spend $100,000 on that orange car. It was bought to be a static model for a restaurant. That's it, and at that, it was a really good deal for that. But I don't know if they're going to use it, so it might be for sale, and I think it could be bought for exactly what it was paid for if anybody's interested. So if you're interested in the orange car for what it was bought for, you're more than welcome to come pick it up. I'm sure we can work that out. It runs.
Yeah, I think in that video, you started off not liking that Thunderbird too much, and then by the end, after we went over that 12 car, you're like, somebody could actually do something kind of okay with this Thunderbird because the other one made it look so much better.
I do. I have a soft spot for Thunderbirds. My first job in racing was with Rick Mast on the Skull car. We actually sat on the pole at Indy with this real small team. I think there's only 8 of us that worked on that whole deal. But I the Thunderbirds for some reason, and from there I went to Kenny Bernstein's and Jeff Bodine's and worked on all the Thunderbirds. I don't think I worked on a Chevrolet until I got to DEI in 2001.
Wow. That explains a lot about your preferences. I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking about that the other day, and I was like, we built the first Tauruses, did all that. And, then I went to work for Ray at Dodge, the Dodge deal. But I don't think I touched a Chevrolet until about 2001.
Didn't Evernham run a couple of races with a Taurus at the end of 2000?
Yeah, with Casey Kane in the Motorola car.
Yeah, it's like I never knew about that until I saw pictures pop up a couple months ago.
Yeah, we should have known better at that point. We didn't.
Did Jim Haynes here wants to know if you ever knew anything about Mario Rossi?
I don't. I think his Dodge Daytona, that's the guy from Greenville. Spartanburg down there. I saw his Daytona over at a friend of mine's shop, the one with the 305 in it that they let him run in 1971, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he almost won the race, but he ran out of gas or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would have won the race with the little motor. But I saw that car, and I think I talked to his son. Nice people,
Bill.
but no, sorry. Yeah, I don't know a lot. I don't know. That's my extent of what I know about that.
Replicated wants to know, has that traction control ever been proven to be used in the 2000s? What do you know about traction control?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on what you would want to call traction control. There was a lot of different stuff, back then. I'd have to jog my memory a little bit, look back at some notes. But, I mean, they were doing some funky stuff with some shock oil in the right rear that would, heat up, so it would pass the shock test when they had the shock thing. So there was some I'm sure at some point somebody probably tried to play with some traction control.
Like electronic traction control?
Yeah, there was always rumors of this or that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never physically seen it, but I mean, it's just odd how some guys with no talent can go around Martinsville and sit on the pole sometimes, or somebody, it's a little strange in some of the places where, grip means everything. And all of a sudden they're the best of they win happy hour and win the pole and then they crash in the race. So
Joe Warble wants to know, did you go to the track much with DEI and what was your position?
I did. I did. I was an R&D fabricator. So I went for a lot of years. I went to all the speedway races. We drug around a fab trailer to all the tests for the 3 teams, and we carried a lot of parts, pieces, and we built stuff at the racetrack. And then my last year at DEI, when Paul Menard drove the 15 car, our R&D program was kind of stagnant. So I volunteered with Dan Stillman to help, to go to the track with him and B. Hoover and, and that whole group with Paul on the 15 car when he ran those 6 cup races. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. That was a great group with B. Hoover and, and Dan Stillman. We had a good time. A lot of fun.
What's Paul like to work with?
Paul
Menard.
He's good. I mean,
really quiet guy.
yeah.
Like I don't know anything about him.
No.
He's just there. He does his job. He goes home.
Yeah, it was really cool when we were at before they brought the 15 cup car over to where the bush shop was for 15 over the drag strip. We had the R&D thing in there, and we would always try to like help Dan out if they needed help. Their little fab shop was beside the R&D shop. Like me and one other guy was the only guy in the R&D shop. They didn't know what to do with us anymore. We were just kind of out to pasture.
It's like the end of R&D.
Well, it was so bored that you would actually help them put crush panels in cars.
Really?
Oh yeah, it got pretty bad. So that's how I got involved with going to the track with Dan. It was either that or probably not have a job. I don't know.
Did you ever work with Brian Simo?
No, no, I don't think I did. I know the name, but I don't think I ever worked with him. So there was one other thing in the comments that stuck out in my mind that when we said it was a factory weld.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's not welded in a factory.
Yeah.
Well, no kidding. A factory weld means that's like somebody knew what they were doing when they welded it. Like it was welded in a real race car shop, not somebody's barn.
Yeah.
With a stick welder.
I knew what
that
you meant.
means. It wasn't meant that it was welded in a factory. It just meant that
it was the chassis shop.
Yeah,
that
it was built.
Became that way.
Yeah, it was built in a real race car shop. But so just to clarify that, and we used to say that a lot, so it's kind of still have it. It's like factory made. Factory built. So so that's where that goes.
There's a lot of terminology that is common in this space that doesn't make sense to somebody who doesn't know what the names are, I guess.
Oh, here's one. Mitchell, are you going to race your car anytime soon? How about an update on that?
What is soon?
Yeah. Well, how about let's hear an update on that.
Well, the clip is tacked to it. It's not finished welded yet, but we're starting to make things again, like the doghouse and everything. And I don't know if people in the chat here follow me on Facebook or not. That's the only place I posted that, but I haven't said anywhere that we had to put a whole clip on it. But you pretty much had us cut the car in half.
Yeah, it's cut in half.
I don't know if that was completely necessary, but we did it.
I feel like some of it wasn't necessary, like the windows and stuff.
Yeah, it's like we cut everything behind the oil tank is gone. Cut the roof at the edge of the back window. C-posts are gone. It's like it was like sitting there welded to a table like 2/3 of a car.
You got a lot of work.
Yeah.
When are you going to get it done?
After we're done with this.
Oh, you're going to go work on it today?
Yeah. Today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day.
Well, we'll do a phone call later this afternoon. Let me know how you make out.
All right. Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Gonna make it look interesting.
So yeah, Mitch is doing a really good job on that. We got a couple of guys in the shop helping him out. It was hurt really bad. I mean, and it had been hurt, it had been wrecked before. So at that point, Bob Newling here, he had some rear clips from back in the Red Bull days, some pretty neat mandrel bent rails, and we just decided, I mean, you just can't keep bending the rear clip and expect it to like keep doing rear clip things. So we just cut it off. I think that's where we ended up.
Yeah, kind of goes back to what you talked about in that video, or what gets it done versus what is right.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's where we're at. And I think we're going to once we get it all done, we'll get it back on a pull down machine out here and get it all reset, re-zeroed there. And see where we're at there. See if we can help you out there.
Jay Tom yours says, what did Hornaday help you with? He helped me put the seat in and a bunch of other stuff like finishing the duct work and hooking up the gear cooler and just random things that the car, I did. Like it ran when I brought it over there, but it wasn't done. It didn't have all the underpainting and stuff on it.
Well, where you started with that car and where you got it to, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. I mean, that works.
It was almost done. It was like
I mean, that car legitimately should have been on Facebook Marketplace like 4 more times before it got finished.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. You see somebody buys a car and they're like, look, I just bought this car. And then 2 months later, it's for sale for like $1,000 more than they paid for it with half the parts on it. And then it just keeps getting passed down and further destroyed. And then somebody finds a red paint chip and thinks it's a redheaded stepchild.
Thinks it's a Dale car. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, and I'm not trying to say we know everything. And because when we don't know, I'll tell you. We do, because we know people that do know.
Spencer.
Some idiot named Spencer Brown has a question for you.
I got them, Spence, but I lost them at the farm. They're in the field somewhere, I believe. So I got extras.
We're not insulting you guys. Spencer Brown is his son, so we're allowed to call him an idiot.
Yeah, that's on vacation. That should be at work.
Yeah, why did he go on vacation?
Well, why is he on vacation? This
Everybody's
job's
on
like a
vacation.
vacation. This job's like a vacation, Spencer. You should be here. You know.
Yeah, what better way to celebrate your founding fathers than by working on a race car, which is completely unnecessary.
Yeah, with your father.
To the survival of man, we choose to spend our time making cars that drive in circles against other people doing the same thing instead of building things like bridges and buildings.
So no, I mean, like again, a lot of the comments, were really, really good. I think I'm going to go back through there because there's so many of them that I might answer personally because they're well thought out. A lot of comments on the Mike Harmon Challenger. We have the RFID tags off and chassis number, and we have those out being investigated right now. I'm thinking you guys are right. I think that car, because I remember Harmon had that Charger sitting in his building over there for quite a while. And then I think somebody bought it from Harmon and then put it together. I mean, Mike wouldn't have anything to do with saying it's something it wasn't. I know Mike. He got himself in a little bit of trouble here and there, but he's a nice guy. He wouldn't do that.
No.
But I know who did.
I think somebody up in Pennsylvania bought one of Mike Harmon's Challengers and turned it into a drag car.
I saw that. It's on the internet.
Yeah, like, that's actually pretty cool.
Wheels up there. So, and the big thing is when you go to look at these cars, stay within your budget, and take your time. There's a ton of these cars out there for sale, like a ton of them for sale. Not every one of them have history. I mean, I think very few of them do anymore. Really something cool like they won races and stuff, But, a lot of these old push cars and stuff, and make them what you want to make them, but don't be telling people, don't be like that 12 car, that Penske car and going, oh, this is a Penske road racing car, when it's obviously a pile of junk. I mean, that wouldn't even qualify for a show car at Penske's, I don't think.
No.
I doubt it.
No, they wouldn't.
That was that bad. So, I think, and just look at the things, and if you're not sure, or if a deal seems too good to be true, I mean, call somebody. I mean, I had a couple people call me. I was happy to help. If I don't have the answer, we'll direct you to somebody that does. And, I think that's what will help build this vintage stock car community a little bit better. And then hopefully weed out some of this nonsense of, people, it's a Dale car, or, it was the Ricky Bobby's car at Talladega or whatever other story that, grows out of some of these hulks that are found in barns.
I think two things. This Snookaroo guy says, words to live by, stay within your means. And I think that's an interesting point of how is your average guy to determine what is his means, whether it's they want to get an old cup car or just build a Chevelle or something. I think for people that are kind of like getting into working on cars and they got some mechanical inclination, they can figure things out, but they don't know what they haven't run into yet. How do you not get in over your head to where it takes you 10 years to build a car?
I mean, I guess you just got to look at your bank account and decide how much money you don't want. Like if you were to empty your wallet upside down right now, how much money can you not have for an extended period of time? And then on top of that, how much money are you going to spend how much money are you going to throw down the hole past that money?
How long do you plan on spending on this project?
Right. And, and that's where, like a lot of cars, it's sad, but I mean, we can't, like the orange car, for example. I mean, I hate to keep coming back to that, but that car is best suited. And I think, 16, 17,000 for that car, and somebody wants to tinker with it and it runs right now. You can fix a little bit here, fix a little bit there, and have a wonderful piece. The reason we're not doing it is because the car, if it had historical significance, we would absolutely do it. If it had any kind of historical significance, we'd absolutely do something with it. It doesn't. So at that point, I mean, what do you do with it? I think it's a great project for somebody at home, father, son, daughter, family, and I think it'd be a great autocrosser, hill climber.
Mm-hmm.
You do all kind of fun stuff with it. It's not worth it for us to spend that kind of money on it. It's never going to be worth more than what it is right now. Ever.
I think that's an important distinction because I think a couple of people have said stuff to me getting the wrong idea about, like, well, if people want to get into this, they got to start somewhere. And if nobody new is getting into it, then it will die. And that's true. But within the context of what you are trying to do with it is what you need to look at when these things are being said. Because there's nothing wrong with getting a car and tinkering with it, because you got to think for
something to do.
Yeah, us
You
and
learn
people
a
who live around here who see this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's just another race car, but you take that car and put it out in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
They've never seen a NASCAR race car that was in a race. They could go on YouTube and see, like, that is that car.
Well, that was a whole nother level of cars, and there's a bunch of cars out west, because when they had the Winston West series, and this is a secret, but in my opinion, when they had the Winston West series, I know for a fact when I helped Brendan Gaughan way back in like 98, 99, a lot of those cars that we had, they came from big teams like RCR. We had one of Dale's cars that he ran at somewhere, Dover or something, that we tested. Brendan drove at Las Vegas.
Wow.
And so we had that car. So there was Childress used to send his old cars out there to Brendan. We bought some from the Bodine days, from Bodine. There was, and I'll never forget when I was working there with Bill McAnally and Brendan and all them, I was just hanging bodies out there. Just kind of took a year off and just decided to do whatever I wanted. And Vegas was like a good place to do it.
Yeah.
So Bill went and bought a bunch of cars from, I think at the time was Matei Motorsports. And well, they get the cars shipped out there. And I'm looking at the back of this one car, and I could see it had all the holes patched in the package tray. And I started looking at it, and had splayed rails, which was rare for the time and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that's one of them SVO cars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the car that sat on the pole at Atlanta that Jeff Bodine still holds the record in.
Oh, wow.
Because we had two of those. Andy Johnson and I went to Banjo Matthews to pick them up. There was a Ford Motorsport project, SVO project. So we drove to Banjo Matthews, and they weren't finishing the cars. And one was tacked together and the other chassis was welded. So we picked them up and we put them in this 2-car trailer, and Andy and I drove back to 7-car shop. When we got there and Jeff come out, somebody finally gave him something for free. So he was real interested in that. So he comes out and he goes, "Where's the other car?" It was in there when we left. Well, the car was just tacked together. So when we got back, the whole car had fell apart and it was rolling around on the floor.
Wow.
The whole thing. So that one, I believe that one got thrown away. And then the other SVO chassis, that's the one that we built. And that's the one that went to Atlanta and sat on the pole. I think it ran 197 mile an hour down there. And it still holds the track record to this day.
Yeah, that was right after the repave, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
It was
don't know. Whatever.
Hoosiers and
Yeah,
combination
something like
of
that.
all that stuff.
And that car, so that car, when I was a couple years later out at Brendan's, that car showed up. And sure enough, that was it. That was the car.
Wow. How did it work out there?
Just a pile of junk. At that point. I mean, that car was never that good anyway. It was terrible. It was fast for about a lap, and then it like went all to pieces.
One of those thumbs ups is for me.
Oh, yeah. So that doesn't even count. It should be less than that. So the thumb up number should be higher than the people in here. That means the people in here aren't poking the thumbs up button. And that's just me.
They'll get around to it.
Yeah.
So back to the Winston West stuff, and this still holds true today. If you guys want a chance at finding something with some cool history, I know for a fact out there in Idaho and Oregon and California and even down around Las Vegas, a lot of them Winston West cars are still out there floating around in people's garages. And when you see those Winston West cars, 99% of those cars came, especially like the pre-2000 ones, because that's when they were all 110-inch cars. I think it was, mid-2000s when they let them run the 105s in the West Series. But the pre-2000s cars, there's a good chance that you're going to find, a Roush car, even a Earnhardt, a Dale car possibly. Brendan had Dale cars. We had that car that he ran at Vegas. So I don't know where it ever went, but that stuff just didn't vaporize.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's out there somewhere. And I know a lot of the road race cars came from big teams back here.
Is that because they would be willing to send them out there complete, because it wouldn't be like giving it to an ARCA team here that could filter back and kind of like give away some of their information or what they were doing? But out there it was like,
I think it was really good and that's where I think NASCAR is really screwed up, is they've ruined the trickle down effect, which hurts guys like you, me, and everybody watching that wants to work on these cars. Before you had cut parts and they'd go maybe to the Busch series a little bit, maybe some of the truck series, and then there, you had just stuff that was scrapable. But that's all gone because of this junk that they got now. There's nothing that fits anything else. And so they've totally ruined that supply chain, which I really think financially really hurts the teams, because I know a lot of teams, small teams out west and ARCA teams, that bought a pile of cup cars, for good money. I mean, when I worked at DEI, when they were selling stuff, after they started selling stuff, I mean, they were selling them old Speedway cars for like $100,000 a piece to ARCA guys. Roll them. Like, here you go. I mean, I seen it go out the door.
Wow.
So now that's not possible. And I think that had more of a ripple effect on the sport than what a lot of people realize. Yeah. And that ripples all the way back to guys like us. I mean, that's why I'm so hesitant to get rid of some of my parts sometimes. I mean, I'll sell this or that, but if I only got one left, unless you want to pay all the money for it, I might need it for something,
Mm-hmm. You never know.
Am
I going to be able to find this again if I get rid of it?
But so if you have a chance of really finding a cool car, I think a lot of the cars on the East Coast have been, through the years, I think they've been kind of, everybody knows where they're at. They all kind of came where at. But out west, I'm sure if you go out west and search Facebook Marketplace, you're going to find some old pre-2000 Winston West cars, and they're going to be cool. And all those engine parts and all that stuff that they ran, I mean, it was all the same stuff out there. So, that'd be my tip. If you want a car with history, I'd start out there.
That's why I didn't buy, when I was looking for a car for myself, I didn't buy one that I found around here, because they've all been passed through ARCA and stuff so many times. So every body panel on it.
Well, it's like Jim said, most of the Winston West team have an alliance on the East Coast with teams. They absolutely did. Mm-hmm. I know, like, again, back to Brendan's, they had a huge partnership with RCR. I mean, there would be tractor trailer loads of RCR stuff that would get dropped off at Brendan's and Michael. Michael Gahn and Brendan's stuff. So, absolutely. And I think there was a team down by Phoenix. They Persley drove for them. I can't remember the name of it. I think they had a big alliance. I mean, every one of the teams that won races out there were some kind of cup affiliation. So, yeah.
What do you think about super late models and late model stocks?
That's a good question. I think it's, even me being around racing, and this is just my opinion for almost all my life, the late models stocks and the pro lates or super lates or what, I think it's too much, because the regular fan don't know the difference between the car.
I didn't even know what the difference was until like a year and a half.
And so I mean,
it's hard to figure out. They're all different.
It's kind of hard to figure out. I mean, I like super late models. I kind of wish they would let them have real motors and stuff, like cup motors and stuff again. I think a few, cool. 10, 15 years ago, they had a Rocky Mountain Challenge Pro Late Model Series thing we built a car for, and it was run what you brung. And I'm going to tell you, Wilbur, this kid that worked in the shop out there, and Ed Goff, myself, and Brett Thompson. So Wilbur pretty much builds this late model thing, and we kind of laughed at him and Brett for doing it because Brett couldn't drive a lick. But this kid, they built this late model like there's no rules, and they went and won a race. They won Meridian.
Wow.
Right. That's what I was like. I mean, that really changed my opinion. You know, it's like, wow, you went and won a no rules. Basically, it was. I think they had a Dodge Cup motor in a late model.
Can you imagine like 900 horsepower cup motor in a car that weighs 2,500 pounds?
Yeah, and I didn't think I think they had a 2,000-pound weight rule. There was no tread width rule because I think Ed and I built them some trick parts for the rear suspension, like this rear sway bar thing, and a bunch of other stuff. But Wilbur pretty much he did that all on his own, him and Brett. And they ran really good everywhere they went, I mean, I was really shocked, they did that well with that car. But that was a neat series. I think Shane Prince was involved in that also out there. They just inducted him into the Magic Valley Speedway Hall of Fame out there. He's a good friend of mine. Kind of neat for him.
Jason Fields wants to know, how long would it take for a NASCAR car with the front end destroyed in a wreck to rebuild and get race ready? Like if you knocked
like firewall forward,
like a car like mine, if you knocked the front clip off back in the day, how long would it take that car to be turned back around if you had a crew full of guys?
We had a car when I worked at Bodine's at Martinsville, and the throttle hung and he backed it in the fence. This was a week before Wilkesboro race, and apparently this was his favorite car. It was a pile of junk anyway, but it was terrible. But somehow this was his favorite car. They brought that thing back to the shop Monday night. Tom Mount, Pete Jackson, Andy Johnson, and myself cut the back of that car off at the back of the cage. The back of the cage, not like yours, even farther.
Like behind the 7-bar behind the seat?
Right behind the seat.
Wow.
Cut it off right there. And we stayed all night and had it all. And we didn't have a clip like one. We built the clip. We built all that. We put it all back together, had it all back together the next morning by, I think, 9 o'clock. It went in the body shop. They painted it and put it together. And we took it to Wilkesboro, and we got lapped in 4 laps. It was amazing. It was the most successful thrash I've ever been involved with. That's a true story.
That's funny. What?
Started last, got lapped in like 4 laps. But you were so tired you didn't care. But a front clip, another quick one. We were at Daytona testing in the speedway cars. At 15 car oil line came loose. This oil line up on the engine. Second lap of the test. First day of the test. 3-day test. 3 or 4 day test. Just knocked the wall down with the right side. Pancaked the whole right side. Tore a front clip off of it. Steve Mill put it in the fab trailer. Somebody drove the car back to North Carolina's shop. They put a new front clip in it. I think a right side rail. Rehung the body. Put it all back together and had it back down there for the last day of the test, which the car was second fastest, I think, to the 8 car.
Wow.
That's getting it done.
Was Poncho Weaver there?
Yeah.
I think he told me a story that sounded just like that.
Yeah. I think the Poncho was there.
D-Man Robin says, is there a website to go to search that sell vintage race cars? Well,
Bring a Trailer is a pretty reasonable place. I mean, there's been some really good deals on there. I mean, I'd just be really careful, about what you buy. And if you're within a few hours of it, I'd take your time and go look at it. I mean, if it's cheap enough, who cares?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you start getting up in, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 or more, I mean, I'd kind of want to go look at it or have somebody go look. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why some people don't do that, but we do offer that service. I've gotten on airplanes overnight, flown to Colorado, California, looked at cars.
I didn't know you did that.
No, I didn't either.
Done that for quite a few people.
Would you inspect internet listings for people?
It costs money.
Well, obviously, any expertise should. But if someone says, I found this car, I'm interested in it, could they send it to you and pay you something to dissect it, or call the seller on the phone maybe? And
yeah, I mean, I would do that. I feel better if I can look at it, but my opinion is going to be a little bit, if I can't see it, my opinion might not be as good as if I actually see it, because I'm going to lean to the side of the customer, not the seller. Because I don't want to get caught in that trap. well, you said, oh, yeah, I guess I just bought me a car.
Yeah.
John Jeffords is in this chat.
Oh yeah, John Jeffers is the one that took us all around Milwaukee to do the Kulwicki history stuff. He said, "Does Aaron have any inside knowledge of any setup tricks that made Alan Kulwicki so fast?" Did they ever talk about that stuff when you were at Bodines?
Well, I can tell you, we dissected it and tore it all apart and ran like crap. So whatever he was doing, we went backwards.
Like whatever Alan had got destroyed and it wasn't replicated.
No, it was just totally a different direction. We really like to outthink ourselves over there. That's another whole.
So you think it would have been better if you just stayed with the playbook?
Well, Paul Andrews was awesome.
Really?
I love working with Paul. He was hardcore, but he kind of got some, these weird front clips tossed on him from this guy up north that used to work on Jeff's modified. We'd be at the track and they would argue on the radio, this guy Bob and Jeff, and they'd come up with these weird terms like, "Oh, it looks like a porpoise." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's got like 7,000-pound springs on the wrong side." Of course it does. But I mean, we did end up winning a race that year. We won Watkins Glen by accident. So that was pretty cool.
Was there any evidence of Kulwicki's stuff or things in there that you looked at and thought, "Oh, that makes sense why that worked well"? Or...
Nah, and at the time, I just at that early in my career, I was more of a like doer. I didn't have enough knowledge to ask, and back then you didn't. I mean, if Paul said put the spring in upside down, I put the spring in upside down.
Rado can go F himself. He's about to be banned.
Who?
Yeah. Some guy making dumb comments in here. You gonna?
Yep, I already. Van Hammer.
Van Hammer. Gerald Crabb. Have you built an old style car from scratch? Yes, they're both behind us right now.
Yeah, right there. Oh, ran over the dog.
I guess Shelby was sitting behind me. I think I got a little bit of her foot fur.
No, we did build these cars, but they're not old school underneath.
I didn't know she was back there. There's a tuft of fur stuck in my tire.
Yeah. Oops.
You did that.
Oh, that was her butt fur.
Yeah, it hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I think that Mitch should run down to Bojangles and get you a box of chicken.
Yeah. Poor baby.
So yeah, we built these cars, but these cars were built from scratch. I mean, we started with nothing. The Talladega here was a failed race project that we bought out of Florida, and all I wanted from it was the roof and the quarter panels and the deck and hood, and then we scrapped the rest of it. But everything else on that car, we built our own chassis. Everything was handmade for these cars, and the Daytona is the same way. The Talladega has a Roush Yates FR9 cup engine in it, probably 900 horse, and then the Dodge has a Penske Dodge R6 motor in it, probably about the same.
Pro Driver 33 says he wants an old NASCAR car for fun track days. How hard is it to convert an oval car to road course work, or would it be easier to find a road course chassis? I know you kind of cover that in the video, but there's probably a lot of people who didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not hard. I mean, I have cars, and maybe we'll pull some spindles out that we've done for people that like won Indy and Road America and everything with a 5 and an 8 degree spindle on it. As long as the slugs will go between 5 and 8, you just put the slugs in the 8 degree position and go. You can definitely work with your upper control arms. You can get it really, really close. Like, would it be Kevin Harvick close where you can go win Watkins Glen? Probably not. But could you go and win an SBR race? Oh yeah, probably. I mean, I don't think there's very few, in my opinion, there's very few of these cars that are historic racing right now that are legitimate road course cars. Very few of them. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a myth. You can get a rear end housing built, for road racing, or find one of those, and you can work with the front suspension stuff. I mean, those cars back in the day, I think you were allowed a 1/4 inch offset in the clip, maybe. Some people push it to half. You need to check your front hubs and make sure you don't have like inset hub, or something on the left front. Their hubs were like a 1/4 inch different. I mean, there was things back in the day you could do. I think you get close to an inch offset. So, but all that stuff can be removed. It's just mechanical stuff. Your lower A-frames, one, half inch longer than the other. I mean, so no, it's not a big deal. It's just, you got to know what to look for. And sometimes you can even use some of those same pieces. You can get it to work.
Some guy named Jake says he picked up a motor from Jeff back in the day for a street stock. When we pulled it apart to freshen it up, it was really neat to see the pistons turned around backwards on the rods.
That's probably one of those Bob Glidden motors. We had Bob Glidden come to our shop one time. I felt so bad for Danny Glad. It was right before Daytona, and Bob's going to show everybody build motors. I'm sure he did a wonderful job and shit that ran for a quarter mile, but it didn't work out real well with ours. I think we changed 8 engines at Speed Week before the 500.
Wow.
So it's probably one of Bob's. If it was around 96, yes, I would say that'd be a Glidden trick.
JP says, is a 900 horsepower NASCAR engine streetable? What's your tolerance level? It's a real question.
Yeah. I mean, I have a street legal rat rod that we ran 214 mile an hour with a cup motor in it. Now I had an old C3 Ford motor in it that Danny Glad gave me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and nobody even knows what it was. And that motor ran 199. My FR9 ran 214. But I probably put 2,500 miles on that motor. One night we were in Daytona and I left it out in the rain at the rod run, and I guess it rained and the water went down in the air cleaner and it filled the motor up with water. So we had to pull all the plugs out, spin it over, and shoot the water out, put the plugs back in. Away we went.
You just never heard it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I did, and another time I blew the spark plug out of it. Blew a burnout out of that C motor, so we had to get a helicoil. Do it on motor. Just did it on a motor. Drilled out to put it. No, we ran the heck out of that thing. Still run 197 miles an hour with that old motor. I drove about 2,500 miles on it riding on the street.
So Danny Glad built some pretty good stuff.
Yeah. And this was some motor that it was under his bench. Nobody even knew where it came from. Yeah. It's sitting back here on the shelf. I still have it.
I got to edit that footage from Danny. So anybody watching this now, you'll see a video with Danny Glad at his shop about all the Dodge engines.
Yeah, Danny's awesome.
Yeah.
And I worked with him at Bodines, and man, he had some good stuff. I worked with some other Ford teams, and I understood, when the 7 car ran good, I understood why. Just had Danny's horsepower under the hood. I mean, we were way off it. King Racing, we were terrible.
Really?
No. Compared to what Jeff had. I wish we had his motors with Steve Kinzer in that 26 car. I think we'd have been a lot better.
Because Danny worked for King Racing before he came to Kulwicki's. I don't know if he was like the head engine.
This was have been way after.
Yeah, I think he left there in like 88 or something like that. Rebel Driver's Garage says, was there a track as a team member that was a favorite? I guess either for the track itself or the extracurricular activities that enabled you to participate in because you were in the area.
I mean, I like Daytona and Talladega because Daytona and Talladega was a lot more about the race team. You worked hard, you came up with good stuff. The stuff you did in the shop made a difference. It wasn't, Martinsville was cool, but that was a driver and a crew chief. Like, you got to have a car set up right and a regressive driver. Bristol. I mean, that's cool stuff. But winning races at Daytona and Talladega and being a part of those programs, to me, that made you feel more like you did something. So I'd say Daytona, Talladega, in my opinion.
JD, yeah, I saw that post too, where Matt Donor was talking to Mark Martin and he was wearing one of our shirts. I thought that was cool
that's
too.
pretty neat.
Like, we sent him those a long time ago, and it's cool when you see him that he's still wearing them. Like, oh yeah, he didn't just wear this once to appease me and forgot about it. It's actually in his rotation.
That's funny.
Somebody says,
No.
oh, yeah, someone's profile picture was a dog that looked like her. Is TA2 similar to NASCAR?
It is now.
Because they're all the same.
I'd say, it's about the same thing.
Expensive.
Yeah, so they're both expensive and they're both don't go that fast.
They use LS motors like trucks and ARCA do. They're not too different.
Yeah, I kind of, I think NASCAR's got a hold of HSR now. I don't know how they're gonna. I think they have an opportunity there to really do something cool, but they'll fail. They'll probably fail. That's my opinion.
Easy says, what would it take to run a whole series of cars like the Talladega and Torino you built, other than lots of money?
We thought about that, and the technology's out there that, and they have it with the Xfinity bodies and stuff, is that we could make these bodies, out of Kevlar. It wouldn't be cost effective to try to do them out of steel just because they're expensive and they're all hand built. It just wouldn't be, the Kevlar ones like an Xfinity body would be a lot better. And it's basically all Xfinity parts and chassis. You could design the whole car around, something like that. And, I think you could do it for the same or less than the Xfinity cars. That's my opinion.
Yeah, once the molds were made, they're
Same
just
car.
popping parts out.
Yeah. And let's get back to putting a Dodge and a Dodge and a Ford and a Ford, a Chevy and a Chevy. Leave the spec junk at home.
You got any SB2s laying around? Because I'm violating your code right now.
I do.
We could either put the aardvark on my car or put an SB2 in it. I don't really like the aardvark body, but that's just me.
You have a Chevy. You're lucky we don't take that out and put a crate motor in after the last time you hit the throttle pedal.
Oh yeah, like a little 604 or something. They can
Yeah.
just floor it the whole way around.
Floor it all the way around like Daytona.
Yeah. Well, the throttle pedal wasn't what made me go around. It was the other one.
Either way.
Yeah.
The car didn't wreck itself.
No.
You did a good job, though.
If you never wreck something, you're probably slow.
You're not trying hard enough, that's for sure. Right?
Yeah. There are people that have run that series and never wrecked anything, but they also finish 5 laps down every time.
I got a pile of wrecked race cars.
They don't ever do anything. Yeah.
I just don't have any talent. I think I'm going fast, but I'm not.
Like he drives the dirt late model around to like go grocery shopping and stuff.
I think I've seen that guy on YouTube.
Really?
A street legal dirt late model.
I've
That's
seen that guy.
wild.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
That's something I've never
I think
seen.
it's up in Ohio or something.
That makes sense.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Vigilant Guardian says, respect what you guys are doing for history, but I miss the craftsmanship of the man in the chair. His mind is a machine, and we need to tap into the creativity of these great men.
I'm humbled by that statement, but I agree with you. There's so many great people that worked on race cars. And look at the guys that built the P-51 Mustang and the Corsair for World War II, with a slide ruler in 90 days. They had a working prototype of a P-51 Mustang. And that's kind of who I like to, those guys got it done no matter what. And I think those are the people that we need to bring back to the front here and show us how to do stuff for sure.
That's why I want to learn how to use the English wheel and all those metal working stretching tools, because I think about those guys in World War II that built airplanes. And
That's crazy.
And there were
And how many were built in such a short amount of time?
thousands of guys that were just like masters
That's
of
what
those
they
things,
did.
just everywhere. Like you could probably walk into a bar in 1942 and find 100 guys that could all work an English wheel like Jesus.
Or a pull max or
Yeah, and they're just
machine shop.
This is normal then.
Yeah. They didn't have CNC machines. All that stuff was hand machined. When I was in the Navy, we had a lathe that was probably 30 feet long. I had no idea how to use a lathe, but I had to use it. Nobody would help me. So I had to figure it out. Well, my coat got caught in the thing.
Oh God! Oh God!
Ripped my coat off. I had to get a new coat. I got yelled at for using tools I wouldn't know how to use.
You're lucky it was just your coat.
It didn't end well.
Vigilant Guardian made a good point about the women assemblers too, that
Oh yeah,
worked in the factories since all the men went to war.
Rosie the Riveters.
Yeah, whatever happened to them after the war was over? They just go back to like being moms and stuff. Like what?
No, they were my grandmas, and they beat the hell out of us when we did things wrong. That's what kids today are missing is a grandma that did that stuff.
That's funny. The real phase 3, what's up? You're seeing it right now. We're having a really good discussion. If you just got here, don't worry about it because it's going to keep being just as interesting or even better now. Gerard Crab, how much your cars cost to build?
What kind of car?
Which one?
Yeah, we got lots of cars here. I'd be happy to give you a guesstimate on that. We're actually writing a quote right now for a guy in Africa to build him a Daytona.
Really?
In Johannesburg, South Africa. So he wants a track day Daytona or something. But we'll see if that We'll see if that grows wings or not.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
John Jeffers wants to know what the owner of the Mark Stahl car plans to do with it. I guess he wasn't here earlier.
Mark doesn't own it. It was bought at an auction that benefited the fella that was racing it for a while. So a little bit of that money, which I think was really commendable from that fella in Texas, gave some money to this guy that was racing it. So we ended up with the car on the basis that it was going to be used for a restaurant type promotion. And then we're not so sure that's what we're going to do with it. So at this point, if somebody's interested in the car, we would absolutely sell it for what it sold for on the auction. And be happy to have you come get it. We might even deliver it. You never know. We need space here. So that's where that car is. So I'm not sure about Mark.
Easy says, does present day Trans Am series have more DNA of real NASCAR? I guess he's probably assuming the TA1 where you can kind of do whatever you want.
That's still not a do whatever you want. They got a lot of rules with the bodies. And, I think there's a lot of leeway there, but there's still rules. I don't think there's a lot of innovation in that series because it's different than NASCAR. Like NASCAR have full-time people. That's what they did every day, all day. I think a majority of the Trans Am teams are probably rent-a-rides or, They're not like.
It's not their life.
Right.
It's just a thing they do.
Right. It's just something they do. They finish where they finish,
I guess if you had a whole team of guys that were there thinking every day, what can we build? What can we do that's better? The wheel moves a lot quicker.
Right. And that's, we've had a lot of success in land speed racing at Bonneville and El Mirage. And, some people were always a little upset about that or whatever, the old guard out there, that kind of cringes them when some people work for years to do that. But technically, we did work for years. I mean, we found a place in the desert. We went and tested our cars in the middle of the desert.
So that it's more.
We did a lot of stuff and worked every single day on our cars. Where these other guys, they work on their car a couple days before they go to the race, and I can't help that. We're here to do a job, and that was our job. And, we had a lot of partnerships to fulfill with Snap-on Tools, and Safety Clean, Penske Racing Shocks, Cat's Coffee, and that guy that owns the Horsepower Ranch. He's a real mean one.
Spoken like a true racer. You got to get your sponsor plugs in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Dennis Samuels, for the super chat. I didn't even ask a question. Usually the super chat function is to make your question or comment stand out, but he just did that just to help. So.
Oh, there's a good question. Whatever happened to the Montoya car you had in the shop? I got to see that track car run on track Fontana. That was a lot of work, and we got the car done. He got to Indy. He had his transmissions built by somebody I never even heard of. I don't want to get in the middle of it, but I don't know the guy's name. They did 2 transmissions. The first transmission broke within a lap of practice. They put the second one in. It broke in 2 laps. I think somebody lent him one. It broke. They struggled with transmission stuff. Overall, the car with the 1 or 2 decent laps he got, it stayed together and it handled well. He was happy with it. And he wasn't much of a road racer, by his words. So they got a new transmission, went to Mid-Ohio the following week, and I think he finished third. He finished third on Saturday in the race there, in his class. And then the transmission broke again on Sunday.
Wow.
So I'd say we need a new transmission guy. I would have had one first day at Indy, but.
What do you know about the Sandwich Construction Company?
Oh,
somebody asked about that place.
Yeah, that was awesome. The one in Concord was the best, especially around Charlotte Race Week. That was always a lot of fun.
Where was it?
It's over off 29, I believe. It was kind of weird. You go down this hill, it's like it's park. It was kind of weird. Then there was another one. There was another one that they opened up in Cornelius or Davidson or whatever it is down there.
Oh.
That was open for a little bit. So no, and the food was good. It was a lot of fun. You could always. I didn't live down that way, so I only got to go there when we raced at Charlotte or something like that, But it was always fun to go there and see all your friends and tell lies and all that fun stuff.
Would you try to spread rumors about what you were doing that was wrong to set people off the rabbit hole and something that wasn't true.
I didn't have to. Everybody didn't think I was that smart to begin with.
Oh, I think it's effective to play dumb and just sit there and listen.
Yeah. It was effective just to let people talk.
That's my MO. People are like, "Oh, how do you do such a great job of interviewing?" I'm like, I barely talk. I just listen, and that's the secret. People love to hear themselves talk.
I got about that.
Eric Evans.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, you read the question first, so people.
Yeah. So, what are your opinions on the car that NASCAR is using now in 20 years? Do you think they will be as collectible as their older generation NASCARs are now in 20 years? That is an excellent question because that weighs heavy on my mind, and I'm going to try to, in short form, explain to you what I feel about the collectible car market. No matter what car, race cars, whatever it is. When I was young, I'm 57 years old. You know, my dad had 69 Chargers and Road Runners, and there was Corvettes and Barracudas and all that stuff running around when I was a kid. So that's the kind of stuff you're exposed to. Add 15, 20 years when you go to high school. Well, that kid that watched his dad drive that, well, now he's going to want that car to go to high school because it's cheap and it was cool. I remember buying Chargers, not Daytonas, but Chargers and crap like that at the junkyard for like $75 and then drive them with 4-bolt tires until they fell apart and we scrap them, get another one. All kind of junk like that. Big block Corvettes, all it was junk. We wanted it. So that's where we're at, and that brought us up in the mid-'80s. Well, then at that point, you add, that high school kid gets married, gets a life, gets through it. Well, we had another 20 years on to where that person now is established. They're in their mid-40s, late 40s. What are they going to go back to? They're going to go back to, I really like the car that my dad had, the car that I had in high school, 69 Camaros, whatever. See, that stuff's getting cheaper now because guys my age, I don't want those cars because I grew past that and I realized how terrible they are to drive. The air conditioner barely works. The windows don't roll up and down. They don't stop. They're really slow. It's just terrible. I don't want anything to do with driving them things. They're cool to look at. And the people that own them, it's awesome. I love talking to them. It's like having a friend that has a boat. They're just great. But so I think that's where we're seeing now. And I think you're going to start seeing the decline, that car market. And we already have from the early 2000s, with the big block Corvettes and Chargers. Those prices are starting to come down. So in my opinion, on the race side is that I think the market is going to fall on the 90s, 80s and 90s stuff. And it already has trended down quite a bit. I think the next market to fall is going to be the 2000s because the younger kids just aren't going to want them. We really think about it. This cars are 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I can see that is like you get like the people of my generation that once they get a little bit older and have some money and get bored, then they'll want to go back and find them because they remember going to a race with their dad when they were 7. They're like, yeah, I want one of those things.
Then that's kind of rare because we don't have that anymore. They just don't have that kind of interaction anymore. And, I think with the stripping of brand identity across the sport, with engines and body styles, and you can't relate, to the stuff. Really, I think that even farther removes, people to be like, oh, I'd like to have an old stock car. Yeah, it's really cool.
I think so too, because I remember when I was a kid, like less than 10 years old, I was never interested in like dirt cars or sprint cars or anything because I look at it and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah,
it's just it looks like a cheese grater with wheels on it. Like you go to a cup race and you're like, that's a Monte Carlo, that's a Taurus. Even though I think a Taurus might be a little goofy looking, it's still a Taurus. When I see one on the road, I think of that car.
Yeah.
Or the truck series when they had really, before they got the crazy downforce noses and stuff, like before 2005 or 6, when they still looked like a truck in the front. I thought that was cool because they looked like trucks before trucks on the street got so big and bloated that they were like, now the truck series trucks look like an S10 compared to a real one. But like that 90-something truck sitting out there, the nose, fenders,
it looks like a truck.
It looked just like a truck. Like when the truck series was started, they looked like they could be a real truck body.
So, I mean, I personally feel like if you're patient, I think you're going to see a lot of these cars, historically significant cars, are going to start to come up for sale. There's guys my age and a little bit older that raced them and had a good time with them, and now they want to buy an airplane and fly the Bahamas.
Mhm.
Things change. So will the market come back? I think so. I think HSR, as long as they don't keep doing, spec tires and you have to buy this, do the NASCAR stuff with the hobby people. I mean, if they do that with the vintage stuff, SBRA is really going to grow, in my opinion, because people ain't going to put up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Hoosier Tire and HSR did that to me, I would go over to SBRA and I would sell my Hoosier tires for whatever they cost me, like plus $100, like $600 a set. There, you want to play games? Hoosier Tires, SBRA, $600. Buy as many as you want.
That's a great idea.
That's what I would do if I ran Hoosier Tire Company. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think that was a good move on HSR's part to have a $1,600 set of spec tires.
No, nobody likes spec tire because you got those guys that they don't care about being competitive. They just want to be out there and have fun and the camaraderie and stuff.
When you take the ability away, the Hoosier and the Goodyear are both great tires. But we've raced on both. Both of them are great tires. Cars, when you take the ability away, there's a lot of guys out there, they're going to have to set their cars up different because the tire's different. You're just not going to bolt a set of Goodyears on there and go, or vice versa. It's a totally different construction tire. And I've been down that road with the Hoosier tire and running, Goodyears at different tracks. It's quite a bit different.
Is somebody else going to say it, or do I have to?
What? Oh, yeah, we can just pass on that. We need to go down that rabbit hole. Easy says, and this one's going to get Aaron fired up. Are generation dates of cars kind of BS? Yes, they don't really make any sense.
It's stupid. I don't know who started that or where it came from. I worked on a lot of race teams, and we never said this nonsense. It's ridiculous.
They said, and this is true, and I've wondered this too. NASCAR claims Gen 4 starts in 94 or something, but there were in 94 or 93, you still had chassis from the 80s, and they were.
Yeah, I know. That's true, because when I worked at Rick Mast in 94, we had a Banjo Matthews front steer or rear Banjo Matthews rear steer speedway car that they ran at Daytona in 1994.
Wow.
So how old was that?
I mean, to me, the difference between what would be 3 and 4 or whatever number or value you want to assign to those.
What year it is.
Yeah, it's kind of the difference is almost like whenever rear steer went away. That was kind of when cars were then a little bit different. If you were going to draw a line in there somewhere, that's the only thing that really you can point to because they're the same.
I don't know who came up with the gen thing, but I wish you would stop.
Yeah, I mean, I get the next gen. Yeah, right in the name. Obviously, that's different than the last one, and the COT was different than the one before because it had the different.
Yeah,
that's different. There's a distinct line there.
I think they were trying to remove the COT branding. I think is where this came from.
Yeah,
because that was such a ridiculous name anyway. I mean, every time that somebody said COT and I was standing by one of those cars, even when we were building them, I thought of like the Jetson spaceship. It was just like that ugly. That it was that ugly.
I hated those things.
It was just terrible.
Even as a kid, I didn't like them. They just looked like chunky.
They like bread boxes.
Yeah, they didn't look.
Who thought that was a good idea?
They didn't look aggressive and cool. Like they just kind of took the cool out of it. Matt says, "Do you think NASCAR will change the next gen if ticket sales decline more over the next 5 years?" I think so. They certainly modified the COT heavily after the perceived negative impact of having the Ricer spoiler and all that.
I mean, what are you going to do to it? I mean, they painted themselves in a box. I mean,
yeah, how could you even change it? Like, could you even get rid of the underbody?
I mean, what? Right? I mean, why? I don't think. I mean, you might get a new nose or a tail or something, maybe a body design thing, but it ain't gonna. It might be a sticker. Who knows?
I think they sound dumb. That's the part that bothers me most about them. It just sounds like like a wet fart. I know some people don't care about that, but I think it matters.
These ones have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mustang's right there. TV dollars. For sure. Look, Jim says people want to sell it off. I would almost agree with that, but why would you keep ruining it if you want to sell it off? I mean, you'd want to maybe see if you could like make it where
That's what happens
somebody
when you
might want
have a
it.
guy from the NFL trying to call shots.
If Aaron Brown was king of NASCAR, what would he do? That's not a question in there. That's just me.
And I don't know. You know what? I think I would let them keep. I would just let them keep doing what they're doing, and I think I would do some kind of deal with these cars and any of the teams that wanted to participate in that. The first year, I would heavily like discount everything that way they could buy to do that. You know, until they got up and going, and I would run these cars I would run stuff this kind of class at select races for 125 mile events as the lead-in race for the trucks, Bush, whatever.
Almost kind of like how the NASCAR sort of subsidized or persuaded teams to join the truck series when they started that.
Yeah.
I think,
I would kind of like say, hey, you know, this is what we'd like to do. You know, if you jump on board, you know, we'll reward you. Like legitimately, not just empty your pockets.
Yeah.
We figure it out, you know, and have a legitimate series for, you know, these years of cars, you know, from like 69 to 72, 73. And, you know, really put a good effort into making a good show and giving people enough room to work on their cars.
That would be super cool.
You know, and I would take them to tracks where they wouldn't be so aero dependent. I think I'd keep them off the mile and a half tracks for quite a while. You know, but half mile short track Richmond, I think would be super cool. You know, Loudon, you know, places like that.
So if you had a car like this and they were these bodies, this chassis and stuff, would you make a ride height rule so they'd be all bouncing around, floating? And
I go back to the old deals, 5-inch block under the frame rail.
Huh.
That's it. You know, because the body's going to be what it's going to be.
So you can put it on the ground and it's not really going to help that much.
Right.
It's just going to shovel air under the car anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I just have a 5-inch frame height roll and be done with it. The block either slides under it or don't, kind of like we used to do it. It's not that hard.
That would be so cool to do that.
Because if you have 5-inch body height rule, the splitter is going to be where it's going to be. That's just that. You know, the bottom of the bumper is going to be where it's going to be.
And maybe that could happen someday because they're building like the reproduction Mustangs and all that stuff. Like 15 years ago, you never would have thought that you could go buy a brand new 67 Mustang, like with new sheet metal stampings from the old molds and stuff. People are doing that. Like Ford is licensing that to manufacturers to do that with VIN numbers and everything. So,
and I think with the current safety standards and the old school looks, I mean, and run a very limited schedule. Like I would run the cars at wherever attendance was weak. I would start there. Good idea. I would start there. I mean, obviously Wilkesboro, it's a sellout. So, I mean, they really don't need to go there the first year. Loudon, why not? You know, Martinsville does really good. But if we're going to run Rockingham, take them there. You know, run them wherever they just have a trucks or Bush and Cup, or Cup and trucks, or Cup and Bush. You know, be the third wheel. I think that's what I would do, and I'd make it affordable. I mean, it ain't going to be cheap, but I'd make it affordable to where you could get people, you know, people like us. If they had a deal like that, I'd build a car in a second.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like I look at it back in the day. If I have everything I had right now, and this was 1995, would I build a Thunderbird to go race at Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600 or to Winston, try to qualify for Winston all day long? And we'd probably be a top 15 car, which makes sense. I don't have there's no opportunity for that now. You know, that opportunity is gone. So, and if you look back, there was quite a few, some teams that, you know, did that. Even the Gaunt brothers, with Brendan and them, they had cars that could have won races. And Brendan's capable. So, I mean, I think that's really sad because, you know, I'd really like to do something like that. I mean, I'd do it in a heartbeat, you know, at that level. But there's no room. There's no room for us, even with all the resources we have here, to be able to do it.
I mean, like something like that with a series of those
I'd
bodies.
be all over that.
I think that all it would take probably is to get the manufacturers behind to subsidize some of the costs for people who wanted to like the production of the bodies or something like that.
I think if you took the greed out of it, and said we're all going to pitch in and we're all going to give a little bit to make this happen, I think you'd be surprised at how inexpensive some of this stuff could be.
I mean, it's not that hard to make a composite piece. No. We've done it on my car.
Yeah,
it's like paper mache.
And I would do the Kevlar stuff like they do on the Xfinity cars. That way you can pump doors and you're not going to. I mean, these cars here, if we tore a side off of it, oh my God. I mean, if we were racing it, tore a side of the nose or something, you're talking $40,000 or $50,000 to fix the thing. I mean, that's, it'd be crazy.
Now, if you were to do something like that, could you take a chassis and stretch it, or do you think this would actually require building a chassis? I would build a chassis.
I wouldn't do that nonsense stretching it. I see so many horror stories of people doing that. It is really scary. That is really scary. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's a terrible idea. That girl did that with that. They built some Daytona or something out there. I guess they blew the drive shaft out of it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's probably more.
I don't know why they did. We had the same problem with these cars. I mean, we were smart enough. We never blew the drive shaft out of it. But when you stretch those chassis and you add to the drive shaft, the harmonics and RPM that you're spinning it, steel drive shaft does not work. So we had to put carbon fiber drive shafts in these so they'd spin the RPMs at speed.
It's because they're so long.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Then they're right at the cusp. They're right there,
KGS go, you can't buy my car. I'll never sell it. Because being a kid, you always hear these stories of the same people who grew up with, like, I bought a 69 Mustang for a bag of blueberries and something, and then I sold it because I had a kid, and then they're like, I wish I never sold that car. It's like the oldest story in the book. I heard it 1,000 times growing up, so I thought, when I get a cool car, I'm never, ever going to sell it because I don't want to be that guy. Oh. I don't want to have to go find my car again.
If they're paying a lot of money for it, sell it. I got a whole building full of I should have sold it when I had a chance cars.
Which ones are those?
I don't know. There's too many cars out there. Who wants to buy a sprint car? I got a really nice Wolf Weld sprint car I'll sell you. We got an asphalt sprint car. Got some modifieds. Really nice modifieds that we'll sell.
How long has it been since you raced one of your modifieds?
Since when they made the rule for the 12-year-old kids to race in that class, I don't know, 2 years ago.
Oh.
I'm not going to race against a 12-year-old.
Somebody in the comments of one of those videos asked what series you had run those in or something.
I ran the 602 stuff with the Carolina Crate Series. We weren't real successful, but I don't think we quite had our car right from what we were doing then to what we know now. I was talking with Derek Kearns and stuff, and we were looking at shop foreman here putting that car, and he's doing a late model for himself now. Huh. So I'd like to get that car back out and work on it on the pull down rig now that we have that, but we weren't that successful. We did okay, but we weren't that good. I tore up a lot of stuff. I wrecked a lot of race cars.
That's funny. I had a question. What was that? Oh yeah, for those who don't know or haven't been watching for years and years, tell them what happened or what you made us do with that petty car and the 602, 604 stuff.
That's when you wanted to be a race car driver.
I never even got to drive the car.
It's sitting out there.
I got a better one now.
You need to finish that.
I did finish it. Spud,
you didn't want to drive that.
Spud got to make a couple laps and
you didn't want to drive that.
No, not really. I know I could have, but yeah.
Even Daryl Waltrip come by to see you that day to tell you I'll get to work.
Yeah. I remember that was funny because he showed up and I was standing there with Spud talking to him, and Daryl was like, well, who's going to drive first? And Spud was like, I am. And then Daryl looks at me, looks down at my feet, looks back up at me, looks back at Spud and says, that's probably a good idea. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. DW came over and checked that out that day. You were out there thrashing on that thing.
I wouldn't be the first person that
And we got that for sale too. I mean, if you want a legitimate, this car is a legitimate Really, really, really biggest pile of junk we've ever had here. It's such a pile of junk.
I was waiting to see where you were going.
It is
with
such a
that.
pile of junk. It is out behind the shop. If somebody is interested in buying that car, send us an email because I would love to see somebody like go turn it into a barbecue grill. You can make it into yard art. You can do whatever you want with it. And it'd be a wonderful, maybe Joe could buy it and show us how he could fix it for $15.
Oh, that guy. in
Yeah,
the
that
comments.
guy. Yeah, maybe
Beautiful.
Joe, maybe we give it to Joe and I'll give him $25 and he can get it race ready.
That had to be the biggest scam that's ever happened on Bring a Trailer.
It was.
that car.
Definitely, yeah.
If there was a award for like the worst,
It was
purchase.
actually on Bring a Trailer.
I know that's like I just went and looked at the listing the other day and I'm like, I cannot believe this ever happened.
Right.
Like it's just
That was terrible.
just
It was terrible. So yeah, so if anybody wants a legitimately fake Richard Petty car that's the world's biggest pile of junk, give us a call. We'll hook you right up.
I mean, the Toyota thing doesn't really matter because I don't think literally anybody looks at a Toyota Camry on a racetrack and is like, "Oh, damn, I want a Toyota Camry." Like, I don't think that. I think that's a
Yeah, I
non-factor.
think the days of brand loyalty, I think those are gone.
Yeah,
Or
I
just-
don't think that's a thing.
this guy says, what would you do for Chevy and Toyota to have a body style in like the Perspective Vintage series? Well, Chevy used a 72 Monte Carlo probably.
Mhm.
And then whatever the body they used back then.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't that competitive. I mean, the
Yeah.
short track, I think it was the Chevelle. Didn't Smokey Unit run Chevelles? Maybe somebody on here knows.
Like a 67
13
Chevelle or
car, yeah.
so. And then Junior Johnson ran the 70 Monte Carlo a little bit.
Yeah.
That was like when GM wasn't really backing stuff before they went in hard. But
Yeah.
but like Toyota, didn't.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I
Brian
guess
Butler's
Toyota
comment.
could run a Celica.
Oh yeah, I did.
I don't know.
Did you get who was doing that?
It is like some AI page. As Brian Butler says, some
Yeah.
people are stealing clips of our videos and putting it on TikTok.
Okay, well,
And
we
if
can
if you
report
see
it.
that, just report it because it gets like 6 views anyway. But if you see stolen content, report it.
Send it to us though.
Yeah, send me it. I don't ever go on TikTok, but I will just to report it. I don't know if I should ask what Lance Armstrong and NASCAR have in common, Jake. It might be a bad idea.
Yeah. Empty bucket of tennis balls. There we go. This guy, Easy, said Smokey used the Chevelles in 67, 68, and switched to Torinos in 69.
Ah.
So I guess you just kind of pick something for Chevrolet, you know, something respectable that, I don't remember Chevy being that competitive. Like you said, they weren't really around much, but I'd say Chevelle or something like that. You know, I'm sure there's something out there that'd be cool. Yeah, Thunder Chicken. Bring back the Thunder Chicken.
So I wonder what all these 195 people are doing right now, watching us. If they're not like out on the barbecue grill, or if they're avoiding their in-laws or something. If you got a funny story, tell us why you're here instead of something else. My funny story is none of my family lives here, so we don't really do holiday stuff.
This is racing. We don't believe in holidays.
Yeah, we don't really do.
My kids have birthdays. I just don't know when they are.
They work here, so if it is,
That's a
like,
present every day.
Today's your birthday. Okay, happy birthday. Oh yeah, Vigilant Guardian mentioned iRacing. How do you feel about iRacing?
Oh.
I have my own opinions. Do you think
Is
iRacing
this an honest opinion or is this, I
This
mean,
Yeah,
this
sugarcoat
is
it.
the don't get me demonetized opinion.
I know. I mean, I think it's cool. It's cute. Oh, but I mean, some of these people think they're like legitimate race car drivers.
Yeah, it's a little
Mhm.
deranged.
I mean, which I think is cool, but I think if they're going to sit in their little thing and wear their driver's suit and their helmets and gloves when they play a video game, I mean, there should be like boxing gloves. And when they hit the wall, they feel like
Yeah.
they're punched in the head.
Seriously.
Like one, they'll just knock the wind out of them.
Yeah, like you want your haptic feedback. sim
Blowtorch
rig.
in their helmet.
You hit the wall, you get punched in the head.
Right. I
And there's
mean,
people that go to like LARPing and stuff and think they're a knight. Like it's
Well,
like
that
equivalent to
and-
that for me.
and their, their iRacing thing, when they wreck and tear their race car all the hell, they hit reset and get a new one. Well, that should cost them like $25.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have to pay for that. I mean,
Mhm.
that's not reality. I'm just saying. I think it's cool. It's fun. I tried it once. I got banned in like, I don't know, 3 minutes.
What'd you say?
I didn't say anything. I wrecked the entire field at Daytona. I didn't know it was a race, and I pulled off pit road, wrecked pretty much the entire field.
Was that, so you pulled like a Kevin LePage?
That was worse.
Did you blend up into the pack?
It was worse. I was terrible. I felt bad for about 30. Not really.
See, I got like, there's like two angles to iRacing, whether it's helping kids get into it or not. One, it might be helping kids get into it because they get exposed to the world and want to look up, find out about the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think it might keep kids away because they can go iRace in their bedroom or whatever instead of going and making friends who know how to work on cars and picking up a wrench and breaking stuff and actually doing it for real. It might be.
But I don't think they're tough enough to be a real race car driver anyway. Then
Not everybody has to be a race car driver. Is that either? There's plenty of people that you don't have to be a race car driver. You can just go get.
You could be.
I mean, it's fun. I like the iRacing. I run the modifieds at like New Smyrna and stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna go race New Smyrna, but I haven't. Like, I always say that, and then we never go.
I think it's like a good learning tool to like learn
It
the
is,
tracks
yeah.
and all that type of stuff.
And I've driven at New Smyrna and the modified at New Smyrna and the modified on the sim thing. I mean, it's pretty close. It's got the same bump off forward. So I mean, if you do the same input, the same accident happens. You spin out the same way. So I mean, it's okay, but some of these people live it like, I mean, you're gonna have to have a hauler for your fake car.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't deter kids from actually going out and
That's a good point.
doing stuff in person.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, the amount of time they spend doing that, maybe they should be out in the garage working on, go-karts, or street stock or something,
Yeah, well, I've
like going
heard,
real racing.
I've heard stories of kids that were doing go-kart stuff at Millbridge and they stopped going because they'd rather iRace. And I think, well, that's a shame because you should actually go out there and use tools and find out how things
I said
work.
we need to build an iRacing rig that knocks the wind out of them, sets them on fire, and breaks their arms.
Luke Arnold, can iRacing tunes be applied to real life? Is it for a real life test after your comments on New Smyrna?
I have here's my deal. I have such little talent in a circle track car and even less talent on an iRacing rig. I'm not a good person to ask. The only thing I noticed is the throttle input is real similar, especially off turn 4 where they got that big bump at New Smyrna. You throttle it up too soon. It kind of wants, it's like old Myrtle Beach Speedway. It wants, as soon as you throttle it, it wants to spin you out. So if you don't hit that just right, but that was the same, there. But the modifieds, I mean, it drives similar. I rode the iRacing thing, I think at North Wilkesboro. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know if I rely on it to go, oh, yeah, this is going to make me better there. It might not. I don't know. I'm terrible at either one, so it doesn't matter.
KGS Go says, yeah, once they hit the troubleshooting and problem-solving aspect of cars, they will go back to sweaty hands on a mouse.
That's a good one.
And that's a good point. You learn more than just working on cars. By working on cars, you learn life skills, too.
Patience.
Yeah, if it wasn't for cars, I wouldn't have a career doing anything because I realized that I wanted to build something cool more than I disliked talking to people I didn't know. So I made myself go to trade shows and talk to people and get to know people to learn things. So you build the car, it builds you back. Michael Milshimmer says he was going to go outside and be productive, but it's cooler inside watching you.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping you can learn something productive so you don't feel like you missed out. That's the goal. I never want to make a video that somebody watches and thinks, well, that's 30 minutes of my life I won't get back. It's got to want to do something for you so it adds value to your life.
Yeah, poor Larry. His thoughts are with him and his family.
Yeah, that sucks to see that. I'm really glad that we got to do those videos with him when we
Yeah,
did.
that's great that you documented all that. Such an iconic team and people and everything.
I wish we could have done more, but I'm glad we got to do what we did. And when we went there, we got more out of that than we thought because we didn't know about the cylinder heads that he had in his garage. We rode over and he pulled the cylinder heads from Ernie Irvin's Daytona winning car out of a cabinet in his garage and just plopped them on the floor. And we just
There you go.
Yeah.
talked about them.
I want to know what other stuff he has in those cabinets.
Yeah, he's got to have more than that.
Hey, look, this guy's the most influential book that we have read.
You ever read a book?
One that has lots of pictures. I don't know.
See, I just read Jeff Bodine's book, and there were some stories in there that were about the same things you had stories about, and they weren't the same. I'll say that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I'll have to read
I don't know.
that.
Bobby Allison's book was really good.
Yeah, that was a really good book.
I don't know.
Really long.
Yeah.
It's very
it was
informative.
sad.
Influential book.
Ray Abraham.
It was a good book. I don't know.
Ray, I got to get my copy from Ray. Ray was supposed to give me a copy of his book. Well, we restored a banjo chassis for him for his iRock deal, a couple of them, and it's going back and forth with Ray. You know, well, you have to do it for this. I said, I can't. Why? I said, so you're going to have to give me one of them books signed. I got to get over there and pick that up.
Lee Blankenship is wondering why I missed the last Grand National Super Series race. Because I crashed in practice at Dominion and bent the rear clip on my car and had to cut it off, and I'm reconstructing it, which you will see video about. And it's currently in process because it's a ton of work.
I had to ask Dennis. Dennis, did the sandwich construction company, did that burn down or what happened over there? Did they move it?
I never knew where it was. I always kind of
He
wondered.
just said where it was right there on Highway 49, just past 29 split. See, I think not Hutch Pagan. They were over on the other side. What was the name of that other? There was another parts supplier over there. I think wasn't Hutch. Somebody else. It might have been Billy Hess.
BSR.
BSR was over. I think over not too far from where construction was. I think it's been years.
Easy. You got any good Daryl Waltrip stories?
I don't know if you mean good. I mean, Daryl's a really good friend of mine. He's treated me extremely well over the years. I get a call from him maybe once a month or so, and it's always interesting to hear his opinion on things.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
No, Daryl's always been really, really good to me and honest. And Stevie, I get to hear from Stevie every now and again. So, I mean, great people. They've been nothing but wonderful to me.
How did you meet Daryl? Because I figured you must have worked on his team or something, but I guess you didn't. And I never knew how you actually got to know him.
Well, years ago when he had the museum over there by the racetrack, my buddy Jimbo was Dale's coach driver at DEI.
Jimbo Diggs.
Yeah, Jimbo was working for him, working for DW. So they were working for DW. He called me one day and asked me about, if we could do this or, some little trinkety thing for DW. And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I'll bring it up. I said, don't waste your time. I'll just come down there and do it. So I did. I just went down there and Jimbo's like, well, what do we owe you? I said, nothing. It was good to come down, have lunch with you, whatever. Just come and call if you need anything. A couple of weeks later, DW calls me and wanted us to work on his Camaro, get it, started working on it. I said, well, that one we're going to have to bring to the shop. So we went, got it, brought it up to shop, got it tuned up, running, Robert G, the modified Camaro. Took it back, gave him a good deal. He's like, hey, this is too cheap. I'm like, this is what we got in it. It's kind of is what it is. And so he's all good. Hauled some cars for him. And then we restored the chrome car. We restored that chrome car for him. So we did that. And, we stored his cars for him for a long time. And he got to the point, wanted to start giving some cars. He wanted to sell them. And, I'm not getting in the middle of that. It's not my business. So then he called me one day and told me get that Nova out for Dale Jr. Did that. I think Scott Rashida got the Camaro. A bunch of them went out. Give them up. And we took some. I still got a couple of the trucks here, this big truck out there. And then he called me one day He goes, which one of them cars you like the best? I said, well, I don't know. You know, I never really thought about it. I said, I kind of like, you know, I really like the ASA car. He goes, you know, I said, because it reminds me of Daryl Waltrip. I mean, it's short track, rocking, socking robots. He goes, fair enough, you can have it. So I was like, I said, well, I said, I don't think having it. I said, why don't I just take care of it till we find the next person that loves it as much as I do. So.
He must like you a lot.
Yeah, we've done a lot for DW. I mean, when they were moving out of there, he called us and, you know, I guess things were, I don't know if they were going the way it was, but wanted when they moved, but we went down there and gathered a bunch of his personal stuff up, you know, and he's all I'll talk to you. I said, no, Derek, DW, don't worry about it. You know, he's always been very nice to me, and I try to do what I can back, you know, for him. Always have.
Chev Champ 35 says, will we ever see the two of you race against each other in anything?
I don't have a whole lot of talent unless I'm going straight at Bonneville at 230 some mile an hour or El Mirage at over 200 in the dirt. I mean, the whole turn thing kind of confuses me. But now that I have, you know, my glasses, my eyes all figured out, maybe that was my problem. We're going to find out here at the end of the winter time. And then I'll get my modified back out.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So does that mean I have to get a modified, or are you going to race me with my car? Just give me like a 10-lap head start.
No, I'll race you. I would definitely choose the modified over that.
Yeah, you should probably be a lot faster.
Well, I have not much talent.
Oh, are you saying I have more talent then?
I would say you should probably move over and let me go by.
Okay, I'll follow you.
Because if I can get to you.
if it's crunched up, I don't have to call you to help me fix it again.
Did all the stuff from the hauler make it back to DW? His whole pool collection and all those things?
Absolutely. Actually, these guys, Mitch and Logan and myself and Spud and a couple other people, that stuff was just kind of strode all over the back of that truck. I went and bought all those bins. Remember all the bins, and Logan and Mitch and all of us, you know, we took each piece and we bagged it and wrapped it and put it in these airtight bins, and we wrapped all that up, and we put everything back in the truck for DW. And, you know, I mean, that's kind of things we did for DW. I mean, we're friends, you know, and I mean, he didn't even remember having all that stuff in that truck. So, you know, no, we got that all put back up for him. Good question.
That was like probably the first video we ever did that was like real tangible, undiscovered racing history on camera. Oh, I'm very grateful for that opportunity, and just the coincidence that it happened to be sitting there. And we're like, well, what's that truck? I don't know. We would do a video about it. Sure. Open the door. It's like, wow, there's a bunch of crap in here. We didn't.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, just the progression of all that was like, are you kidding me? There's digging this stuff out. You know, we just moved to North Carolina a couple months before that, and I got DW's address book from the 80s. It's got Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin, Roger Penske in there. I'm like,
letters from presidents.
Yeah.
Like President of the United States. Hey, good job on your championship. You know,
George Bush.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Like
how am I holding this thing right now?
Alabama,
Logie there, Bear, the Brickyard 400 car that Danny drove. I finally found a buyer for that car. He's from Indy and was totally into keeping it the way it was, which he did. We went through the car and kind of put it back together for him. We put a crate motor in it, you know, and he has that car up in Indy. He's had it at the Brickyard 400. He's done some TV stuff. It's a guy from Kulwicki.
Travis Bell.
And
see that video, you go.
I don't think you'll ever pry that car out of Travis's hands.
No, he'll probably be buried in that car.
Yeah.
He loves that car.
And that was really awesome. That's what I enjoyed about that car, is it went to somebody that wasn't going to turn it into a Days of Thunder car or molest it. You know, it went to somebody that legitimately cared about keeping it the way it was. And that was really cool.
I remember when he called me when he was coming to pick that up for you, and we did that video about it, he started talking about like what it meant to him. He was actually getting choked up. And I'm just like, when that happens, when we're filming stuff, I never know what to do, because I'm not like the mushy emotional type. I'm just kind of like, like, I don't know if like, hey, you okay? Like, you want me to turn this off? Or or what. It always makes me feel like
I think it's cool to see when somebody does that they care that much about this car, especially when it wasn't their car.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Because I had so many people. I had that car 4 or 5 years,
really.
and I had it sat in the museum down there at the Motorsports Museum in Mooresville for 3-4 years. But I had so many people call me about that car. Oh, I want to make a Days of Thunder car. I want to do a Cletus spin-off car. I want to do a Dale car. And I'm like, no. I mean, it's not, that car's not like a Dale car or any of this nonsense. But it's a special piece of history. There's only one of them. And, there was one car, well, two. I guess Jeff Gordon's car that he won the Brickyard with. Actually, no, I think I'll have to ask Ray. I think that car got destroyed.
Either destroyed or restored or something.
Yeah, it got
It's
destroyed.
Not like track condition.
No, it's not like track condition like this one was.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see Travis get that car. It was awesome.
Thank you for the super chat, Brian Isaacs. I don't know if he did.
He did.
He did.
The car is in California. I got a phone call on it.
Oh,
The-
really?
Job, the one he was using at VIR, or the other one?
I don't know.
I thought the roller sold and Job was still for sale.
Last I knew, he had somebody who was supposed to buy the other car.
I called him
Yeah.
about all the body work, but nobody ever
He
called me
had
back.
2 identical cars, and one of them is a
All the
roller.
parts. I wanted to buy all the parts, but nobody called me back.
Yeah, I needed to call him and see whatever came of that.
I know he was sick, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The Mustang, I put the firewall in it not too long ago and burned a chunk of my hair off, so I've taken a little break. But it's a lot farther along. I don't really have that much more to do other than like assembling it.
You're going to have a lot more fabrication knowledge when you get back to that now than
Yeah.
you did last time you worked on it.
Yeah, I might
We'll send you home with a golden
redo
Sawzall
the
and a
fender
scissor wheel.
aprons.
Golden scissor wheel award.
I did custom fender aprons, and now I think I could do them better.
Bill Truitt says, "You ever thought about getting a hold of Jeff Gordon and doing some history stuff on Hendrick Motorsports?" We tried, and the ways that we've been trying have led nowhere because Hendrick has a lot of levels and layers and staff and managers, and it's hard. We pretty much have to start right with Jeff. It's kind of how you have to do these things. It's really hard to go up the conventional chain because those things die or they get squashed or forgotten or whatever somebody's social media person thinks that they have to squash this idea because it'll make them look like they're not doing their job or whatever reason that is. We have the best luck when it's you go straight to the top and they say, yes, I want to do that. And everybody else has to follow suit. And we have not met Jeff yet. Really like to, because we haven't done anything Hendrick related, and all the Harry Hyde's old building and all that stuff is there. And it's been on my mind. Haven't been able to do it yet. I've heard that Harry Hyde's dyno room is still in that building.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen any pictures of it. But we are going to go to that iRock thing, and Jeff is supposed to be there, so that might be where we can find out if he's into that or not.
Tiger Tom's daughter was really worried about him getting sick. So every video plan we've had with him has been canceled.
Yeah,
But we've tried.
I've talked to him before, but never met
He's
him in
pretty
person.
old. He's like 100.
Yeah.
Literally, not like 100. I think he's like 98 or 99.
Yeah.
And he's still tougher than nails.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, he's ornery.
He has a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, he does.
He's starting to come out and leave his house now, so I should call him and see if he'll do that. My Escalade is collecting dust. I haven't had the urge to go drag racing in a long time. Because that was never really where I wanted to be. The only sort of motorsports I could do. Because you get in your car, you go to test and tune. If you can't go buy a race car or do anything, that's kind of just the only avenue for that. And at some point, I got so far into that, and I realized, if I'm doing all this, it costs a lot of money. Why can't I could do other things too? I don't have to stay here. So that's what we did. Yeah, and I was never really into drag racing or like watching it or cutting a good light or anything. Drag racing to me was just, it was a almost like a dyno or just a measuring stick of what I was capable of could I make that vehicle do that thing. And I did it a bunch of times, improved to myself mostly that I could do it. And then I'm like, well, if I want to go faster than this, I'll tear a bunch of stuff up, spend a bunch of money and change it. And I know I could do it. So it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't. I don't know.
Days of Thunder 2. Oh, the music video that you shot at North Wilkesboro, was that the Carolina Moonshine song that they did? It's on YouTube. It's been on there a while.
Maybe
Maybe it might have been that one. Days of Thunder 2. You know what? I thought that Top Gun 2 was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to do a sequel,
Yeah.
but that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if they do Days of Thunder 2 and they
Yeah.
don't turn it into a nonsense
I
type,
feel like if Jeff is involved, it can't be bad,
I don't know.
Yeah. It's
I think they're gonna need more. I just think
if it were set in like 2005, it would
Right.
be a better
Yeah.
movie.
yeah, it would be a
Yeah.
better movie. I
But
mean,
they're not going to do that because they want to promote the current product. So I don't know how that's going to,
I don't know how that's
Oh,
gonna
that would
work,
just
play
be
out.
weird.
unless Cole Trickle's just like a grumpy old man is just like disenfranchised. The whole
Yeah,
thing.
like when they had all that stuff and they could work on Cole's car and this is my tire and this is your way and all that. I mean, what are they gonna do? Like put a click in a shock and go, look, picked up 0.8 of a second. You're the best.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I think they will find a way to do it well. At least I want to believe they will, because the Top Gun, it was really good, and you wouldn't expect it to be.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, Joseph, yeah, that's cool. Glad you went to the Talladega Museum. Try not crawling on the cars. We have to fix a lot of those cars. Just be respectful of them. We've had to fix quite a few of the cars from museums down there. People crawled on, stole shifter handles out of, ripped to wraps off. I mean, be respectful of stuff down there. I know you're probably kidding around and stuff, but we've had a lot of problems down there.
Any sources outside of eBay and racing junk from mid-90s NASCAR parts?
Yeah, right back there in that room and out there in them containers.
Yeah.
I know a few other people. If I don't have it, I know they got it.
Yeah.
Get a
Seriously.
U-Haul trailer, a bunch of cash,
Yeah.
drive to Mooresville and start asking people.
Asking people. I mean, if you're far away, you can probably buy stuff on SRI.
I don't think they got anything left.
Not much. It's
Not
hard.
a
Or the
whole
older
lot. You
stuff.
got to dig through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't
for
think
his
it's-
car at least. Depends on what era of car you're looking
Yeah,
to buy
I mean,
stuff
for the pre-COT cars.
Most of the stuff I got there was COT stuff. That,
I mean, instead of calling them Gen something, so it's just when we say that word as real race cars, is anything pre-207. Like, why don't people say that?
I mean,
Like
there's
real
some
race
people
cars.
that we know of that literally scrapped the stuff recently.
yeah, well, they sent it to the auctions, just to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's right, Charles. Cole's going to be the owner. Then for the Daytona 500, his driver gets hurt, and he's the only one to fill his seat.
Yeah,
At 75 years old, he wins it.
his driver is Rowdy Burns' son.
I think that
And
man
Rowdy
just,
Burns
that
is-
man just won a cookie or something. I mean, he nailed it right there.
Yeah, he's gonna win an Oscar for that.
I mean, really, at 75 years old, he's flying an F-35 in a combat mission with 14 G's of negative gravity in his brain. I mean, he should be able to drive a 150 mile an hour stock car at Daytona or whatever. What do they go, 150, 160 or something?
Yeah, not as fast as they should be. Luke Arnold says, "What are your thoughts on the return of Mopar Dodge to NASCAR?" I think it's great. I think them coming in is gonna do nothing but good things. You don't think so?
In my opinion, just my opinion, I feel like, what are they going to do for an engine now? I mean, this is the door open for somebody to go, let's just have a spec engine like all the other series has.
Yeah.
And this little engine factory over here is going to build all the engines, and that's what you get.
What they should do is just make them bring back the R6. Just fire those castings back up.
Oh, I know, because you know why?
Because you have them.
I have a shelf full of them. They'd be like $1 million. Not like $1 million, just bring $1 million, and we'll talk from there.
I think it's good that Mopar Stellantis is getting back into making performance vehicles. I think that's good for the enthusiast market as a whole, because whenever one's doing it, then the CEOs of other companies, they get antsy and they think they got to beat them, and then it goes back and forth. But if you remove one of those players from that equation, then it kills the game and no one cares.
Nah, Rowdy Burns retires due to brain injury and teams up with Cole to win Team Together. I actually met Rowdy Barnes.
What's his name? Michael Rooker or
Yeah,
something?
I met him at Irwindale Speedway in like 2008, 9, something like that. And that dude legitimately thinks that he's Rowdy.
Really?
Like he really thinks that he was at the racetrack. He did some pre-race thing. He was walking around. Super nice guy. But he legitimately thinks that he's Rowdy Barnes, whatever it was.
Was
It was kind of bizarre.
Was he doing the act like
Oh yeah.
for people there? Like you think he was doing it
He had
just
a little coat on and everything.
Really?
Yeah. He was cool. I got a picture with him. I had to.
You think he was doing the act just for the sake of making a public appearance? Like
I
I'm going to
don't
be Rowdy Burns today.
It was like, I'm not treating you like I would treat Dale Earnhardt. That's not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, it's neat, it was a great movie, but I mean, you're missing the reality fact.
Yeah.
We all know that was a movie. It didn't happen.
It's like why so many celebrities are like mentally ill.
Joseph Gooch says, I'm curious why there was telemetry boxes on the 2000 something Daytona winning Jimmy Johnson car at the Talladega Museum. Like there's pressure transducer on the left rear window. What do you think he's talking about?
It's a good question. I got to see it.
I wonder if it was like could you put your radio thing in the window instead of on
I
the
think
roof?
so. I don't know.
Huh.
Who knows? I don't know.
If you
That's a
need,
good question. I wouldn't know how to answer that. I mean, if I could see it, I mean, maybe we could figure it out, or maybe somebody out there knows.
if you need old parts, ask Dave Marcus and Jimmy Means.
Yeah,
Well, that might work, but they probably won't sell you anything.
Yeah,
I tried.
yeah.
Mhm.
They want to keep their stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to go visit Dave.
Philmar.
Yeah, I worked at Philmar. David, I worked at Philmar in Concord. I worked on the 81 car. Andy and Johnson and me hung bodies there.
We did that one with Kenny Wallace, but we didn't go to the
The Red Dog beer cart was in the back, and the body shop was back and on the left.
huh.
There was the body shop. You went out the back door. The body shop was right there on the left. That's where Tom painted all the cars.
Hmm.
And then down the hill was the bush shop.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
No, we worked in there. Like when you walked in that side door, like the side door, when you walked in there, straight across was Jake Elder had a setup plate there.
Jake Elder worked at Philmar in the
Oh, yeah.
90s.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Worked everywhere.
I used to.
Well, I
I
didn't know
mark
he
his-
was still
I
there
used
in
to
the
mark
90s.
his tape measures for him.
Really?
I used to move him too. Just to,
Tell these people how you mess with Jake Elder.
I used to move his tape measures. He had tape measures, and he put a little piece of tape. And I was just real young. And Jake was mean. He almost killed me one time. Threw a cow panel at me. About took my head off. But I'd take his tape measure. He'd call you over, and he'd set the tape measure to 4, 5, and 6 for frame height. So you take that blue tape and you put it around the tape measure for him to set it. Give him his tape measure. Well, I'd go over and I'd change it by like 1/4 inch or half. And, oh, he'd get so mad. Oh, he would get so mad.
That's funny.
He was a good man though. He was. His stories were awesome. His wife would bring us cookies all the time, like homemade. Like,
That's nice.
oh, they were really good. They had like 16 pounds of sugar in them. You'd be amped up for like a month. Didn't affect Jake though. No effect.
That's funny.
No effect.
We need to go to Nashville and do some of the stuff there.
Mhm.
Been meaning to do that. I really like to do a hometown history video with DW. I think he'd be a great guy to do that. Kind of drive around and talk about where he grew up and flew cars off of embankments. I read his book. It had some good stories in it. But
DW.
yeah, about flying off the road in his Chevelle and running from cops and all kinds of stuff.
I think DW was a church going, religious man.
Who drove like a maniac sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Nah, him and Stevie are awesome people. And I mean, look where they grew up out there in Tennessee. I mean, it's not like growing up in Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
How do you think the team culture has changed within NASCAR over the last 30, 40 years?
I can't comment on what it's like now. I can only speculate of what I would feel if I still
Yeah.
had to do it. If I still had to deal with,
Yeah.
I left the sport because I wanted to work on COT car. I didn't want to do that. I mean, I thought we built some of the first ones at DEI,
Yeah.
and it was repulsive.
Yeah.
It required no talent. There was no thought. You just built this junk together and you send it out the door. And, so we came from that doing really cool stuff in the RAD program, all the wind tunnel stuff we were doing, to build this brick. And that's when I'm like, Yeah, I hung around for that for a little bit, and I was like, I'm done.
Well, it's like the whole thing is weird. Like the guys working in the shop aren't the guys that go to the track. The guys that go to the track and
Yeah, I
pit
don't.
stops
I don't.
are
let-
ex NFL players and
When-
stuff.
When I worked back on some, even like on, for example, the one car. There was Eddie Yunt was shop foreman, or Jabbo and Eddie Yunt, Terry Pup, Kevin Hamlin, Paul Weiss was there, Kenny Trout, and then also Butch Henson was painting the cars, and Gloria, and then was up front. The secretary Richard Jackson owned it, and Big Joe drove the truck.
Mhm.
I just named everybody that worked at that team, and that was 30 years, literally over 30 years ago. So, and that team was a top 10 team. And we didn't work past 5 o'clock. We won the pole at Brickyard 400. We finished second to Dale at Rockingham. Should have won the race. Should have won a couple races that year, But that's how big that team was. It was 8, 9 guys in the shop. And we put our cars together, and Ron Vaccaro was up in Asheville at the engine shop building engines, and I mean we got it done. I mean we all worked hard and got it done. And now I think it's kind of like people, the shops are so big. Oh, my job's done. They get in the car and leave. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of poor bastards back there putting a wrap on a car or something. In the middle of the night. I mean, why don't you stay and help them? But you don't have to, I guess. I don't know. And then the whole track pit crew thing. I mean, back in the day, I mean, we knew how to fix the car on pit road. I believe they had to make the rules where you can't fix the car because these people don't know how to. I swear if you'd open the trunk, they'd look for the engine. I mean, every time something happens, they just stand there and stare at it till this other guy appears over the wall to tell them no again or nothing. They just stand there. I mean, anything outside an ordinary pit stop, they don't know what to do. So I don't know. I mean, what does that make you? Like what? I mean, you're doing what?
A tire changer.
You're a tire changer.
And that is
That's like being a center on a basketball
And it's
team. or whatever.
ridiculous money to just change a tire.
I mean, that is
I mean,
what it
you gotta
is. I mean,
unload everything,
when you
but
have
still.
that, when you have a pit stop be such a big part of how a race plays out, I mean, it's just like going to Daytona.
Mhm.
When you have the aerodynamics that will determine whether you win or lose or finish last,
Mhm.
the guys that have more money is gonna do that. So
This is so crazy how it came from. You're grabbing anybody you can to help you change a
I mean,
tire.
me
build your
personally,
car.
I mean, I think Ray started all this like professional athlete stuff back in the day, the 90s. Me personally, I think what they should do is every year they should have one race instead of the pit crew challenge and all that stuff. They should have one race where they get there, especially with these kit cars. They get there a day early, and the over the wall crew actually puts a race car together. It's in pieces. Everything's in boxes. They put the whole car together, set it up, do it, everything, and you got 2 laps. Whoever makes the fastest lap with one pit stop, do the 3-lap deal with the pit stop in the middle. Whoever wins, that's the fastest lap with a pit stop wins.
That would be awesome. And you got to put the car together on pit road. People can watch you.
Right.
That would be freaking cool.
I mean, how many engines do you think would be in the trunk?
I
I mean, it's a kit car. It can't be that hard. It comes with you remember the AMP models probably has directions.
it'd be interesting and I thought like NASCAR controlling spending and all that. Like, what if there was a roster of your team and you
They
only
do
had,
that though, don't they?
you only had, what if you could only have like 11 guys and those 11 guys had to do the pit stop stuff too. So you had to have the
I
mechanics.
did that. That's not a good time. I wouldn't recommend that.
Well, some
I've been on
people
teams.
some people might like it.
No, it's a terrible idea.
Why?
I did that. Because when you work for people like Paul Andrews and you come back from California and you land at Charlotte at 7 o'clock Monday morning, and Paul drives you in the van back to the shop so you can start work at 8 o'clock. No, it's not a good. So you can be to Loudon the next weekend. No, it's not a good idea. No, you need like 15.
15 guys.
Yeah, 15 to 20 would do it.
What if they could be like more like a team of where people knew who those people were. If there's these things are so massive where they got hundreds and hundreds of employees, there's not really an
I
importance.
don't know
on
what they
one
do.
single
What do
guy.
they do? I mean, what are all these
I don't
people
know.
doing now? You're just bolting together cars.
I have no
I
idea.
mean, what are we doing here?
Like conducting research on the
On what?
foam
You can't
resistance
do
of butt
anything.
connectors, or like what?
What are we doing?
I have no idea.
I mean, that's the question. I mean, I asked a lot of friends that still work in a lot of big teams. I'm like, what do you guys do all day? You know, I mean, what do you do? I guess they spend a lot of time measuring cars to make sure they're not illegal. But 3,000ths of an inch or something, I don't know.
Is the Big Joe you talked about the same Big Joe that drove for Kenny Wallace? Drove his bus?
Joe Lewis. I don't know. I don't think so. I think Joe retired. He passed away not too long after he retired from driving the one truck. Maybe though, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Big Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis was all-pro truck driver of the year a couple times. Back when they had that Skull, used to do the Skull all-pro team thing. That was pretty neat every year. Joe won the truck driver deal.
It'd be cool if they had to put the whole car together and then load it in the trailer and have their truck guy have to like make a lap around a road course or something.
That's what I think. I mean, if we're having concerts at the racetrack with musicians that don't matter and actors and people offering opinions that have no reason to, I mean, why don't we do something cool that like has around racing, like the pit crew can actually put the car together.
Yeah.
And he's got to do it. You know, you get 12 hours to put it together, all 7 of you.
Or if you had the driver and the crew chief switch spots for like 10 laps or something.
I don't think it'd make any difference. Most of them about got the same amount of talent.
That would be interesting.
I just think
Like
of
these-
a few in the back there. It'd probably help. Might be better.
They used to do that pit crew challenge thing where they all have to push the car across the finish line when they were done. That was during the era when I wasn't paying attention to NASCAR, but seeing those clips, I thought that was kind of cool.
So yeah, I don't know. That's just I guess there's like, I guess when things change, some people have different opinions, and that's that.
I kind of think everything operationally and technically could remain the same, and it would still be better if the drivers were older, if they had a little more personality.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Just about the characters, like the guys, the 90s drivers, they were all hardened men who worked in 95-degree shops, cutting their cars up, putting them back together for 10 years before they ever got there.
Yeah, I grew up, the guys, I watched, Bobby Allison, Cale Yarborough, stuff. And even when I started racing in the 90s, you had them hardcore guys, Dale Earnhardt, all them guys. They were like gritty men. And now, you get these kids. It's hard for me to look and go, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Like, it's part of me being a kid why I admired these drivers, because I look at them like, I want to be like that guy when I grow up.
Well, and they walk around differently, too. They have a different, I guess, vibe to them, I'd say. Guys like Cale Yarborough and stuff. I actually interviewed with him one time at the Fingerhut car.
Really?
Yeah, spent some time with him.
What was he like?
I was really nice to me. I could have had a job there, but it was way down in South Charlotte at the time. And that's when Richard Jackson, Kevin Hamlin, I got a job working with Kevin at the Skull car.
Oh, so you interviewed with Cale before you'd ever worked anywhere before?
A couple places. Yeah. I had no choice. I was living in my truck in the Lake Norman Hotel every other night to take a shower. So.
Yeah, they should have the drivers should be part of that crew that has to put the car together.
I think, they're going to struggle enough. We don't need to throw any monkey wrenches in there. Some of them kids don't know where if you opened the hood, they couldn't find the engine. I'm just saying.
Jim Haynes says, if they really want to save teams money, I agree with James Finch. Make a can of gas, take 30 seconds to put in, and anybody can change a tire in that time. No special pricey job.
Yeah, I think Jim's got a point there. That's the way to kind of fix that nonsense.
Well, like when they started the truck series, they had like a 10-minute break in the middle of the race where you put the truck up on stands and change stuff and do whatever, and then they go back out, and it's kind of like, I've watched some of those older races on YouTube, and I'm like, they're really interesting, because it's like you can actually have enough time to make a wholesale change and come back.
I've seen people. I've seen people change springs on pit road.
That's crazy.
Like front springs. I think the 8 car did it at Pocono or something one time.
Was that whenever he was like, give me one of them fancy springs like this?
So I don't know, something like I can't remember. They did it somewhere. Somebody did.
And they should use run flats.
Yeah.
Like getting a flat shouldn't ruin
They
your
shouldn't
whole
have put
day.
18-inch wheels on them and they wouldn't have this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in this conversation brought that up 6 years ago in a meeting about that with the safety fire people when we were doing fire stuff with them on that. I think I got fired for that.
Really?
Pretty sure. Maybe.
So agree or you get fired.
Well, I asked how they were going to pick the car up.
Oh,
It was this high off the racetrack and the wheel was higher than the frame rail.
No.
I mean, and my math says that the frame rail is going to sit on the racetrack when you get a flat tire.
Mhm.
I guess they didn't figure that out until later.
Easy says, I noticed a lot of vets like Rambo and Doug Richard work for guys like Carl Long and Harmon now. The long shot would make a good video. Delivering Domino's pizza and race cars. That's unrelated. That threw me for a loop for a second. But yeah, that reminds me, like with the crew members and stuff, Bobby Dotter said that he would rather hire the guy who's not from here that wants to work on the race car because they will stay longer and they're excited to be there and they're not just like kind of
Bouncing around, like
flowing
We
around
see
for the
that so
paycheck and
much.
leaving at 5 because it's just their job.
I think when Bobby had a shop, not where he is now, I think he had a shop on the other side of Mooresville somewhere, a smaller building when he had the DeWalt deal. I think I went and talked to him about working there.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't remember, but when I worked at Bodine's, like on the Bush weekends, I would, if we were everything was okay and Paul was good with it, I would change tires to the Bush race. You know, I'd get a deal, you know, and I can't remember John Munson. I used to, you know, change tires in him, and I think he was on a DeWalt car or something. I can't remember his car or something. I can't remember. But we used to go over there and do just show up, pit crew the Bush car because those guys didn't have. I mean, they were riding in a van from North Carolina, Loudon. I mean, they didn't fly. It's like they only had like 3 of them. I mean that Bobby was racing. I mean, he's gonna be a winner every week. That was a stout deal. He always was. He was strong.
His story was interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's that many people that would just drive out here in modern times, just drive out here and live in their truck until they figure something out.
Back then, a lot of people did that. I mean, I did that. You know, Bobby did it. I knew a lot of people even up through the 90s, that would show up and they just show up. I mean, to me, even like people that show up here, I mean, if you show up here with California tag on your vehicle and your suitcase in the back and all your shit and your dog in the right seat, you're probably going to get a job.
like Sigma.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get a job because you already took the initiative to pack everything you own in your life, throw everything else away, and come here. You can't play for the Yankees if you live in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that moved from Colorado to New York to maybe play with the Yankees, hire them.
That's not too different from what we did. We just did it with a motorhome instead of a truck. But we didn't really have any plan when we came here. It was just we're gonna go there and figure it out.
Yeah, that's what, and you're still here like 5-6 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't know anybody when we moved here.
Life's changed a lot.
Mhm.
I agree with Easy. I
Yeah.
find the smaller Xfinity truck teams much more interesting than the big guys now. I agree with you. I think to watch them guys, they race hard because their races are shorter. It's really highly competitive, and I don't watch much racing, but when I do, it's the trucks or the Xfinity cars, Bush cars.
Yeah. I think trucks has a lot of potential. And there's some guys in there that are kind of like the 20 years ago, you had the dudes that were in the truck series forever, and they were kind of like the gatekeepers. They kind of have
Johnny
that now.
Sauter.
Yeah.
Like he was there, I think, at the inception. I mean, I think he's been in the truck series since like.
A
I think
Sauter
he
has
invented
been.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's invented it.
And it makes me mad when people make fun of those people that are
Matt
like
Crafton.
career
Well,
like
there's
truck
nothing
series
wrong with
drivers.
that.
No,
Exactly,
they're good at it.
That's
That's
good.
the
I
point.
mean, look at all the people that, I'm gonna drive a truck for 3 races, and I'm gonna go drive a cup car.
Yeah.
Fail,
Mhm.
fail. I mean, Casey Atwood.
Mhm.
Look at that nonsense. Everybody thought he was gonna be the next Jeff Gordon.
They threw him up
Fail.
too fast and wasn't.
John West Townley was another one. You know, he ran fairly decent. Bam.
When you have those career guys that are anchors of that series, that makes the draw for the series.
They're a big fish in a little pond, and they're really good because that's what they do.
Mhm.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
You know, they're not bouncing all over the place driving a junky bush car or some crappy cup car. You know, they're focused on what they're doing. That's why they win races.
And the truck series, there at one time there were so many talented guys in there.
Push to pass for NASCAR.
Yeah.
So hey, just for the record, we did used to have a push to the pass. When we had big power engines, it was called the gas pedal. So yes, I agree. We need a push to pass.
Yeah, the trucks do still kind of have the Mondo and steel bodies and some stupid.
Yeah, they're still built. I'm surprised they haven't put a composite body on them yet. That would probably help them guys.
If the truck series had a more affordable engine package, I think
Yeah, that's kind of nonsense. That Ilmore thing.
it would be so much
What a
bigger.
bucket of bolts that thing is.
Without the Ilmore, I think you could have a lot of sort of small time teams that could actually run half decent because
That thing's nonsense. And here's the problem: is the Ilmore engine package is like a 396 big block thing or whatever it is. When you have a spec motor, a team that's supposedly saving money, well, guess what? We're going to all go buy ceramic bearings. We're all going to buy lightweight gears. We're all going to get $28 million transmissions. We're going to work on, if it's a spec motor, the only way to make that engine go faster is air cleaner and cowl development and how the truck rolls and some aerodynamics and some truck. So congratulations. Everybody's got a crappy engine, and the people that have the money can go to the wind tunnel. They can buy ceramic bearings and all that pullback brakes and, X-track gears. So yeah, that engine thing is a fail. I agree with you. I think it'd be better if you just had an open engine program with a plate like they used to have. It'll level itself out.
yeah.
I think in most of the cases, it's not necessarily that the drivers don't want to interact with the fans. I think it's the way that the security and NASCAR sets up pit passes and garage passes and stuff that screws fans out of having good interactions with the drivers, because that pisses me off.
Well, I think it's a lot better now than what it used to be.
Really?
Like years ago, you couldn't even get in the garage.
Oh God, it's ridiculous.
Like back in the
way it is
90s?
now.
When it was real big, yeah.
You couldn't get in the garage.
Mhm.
I mean, they opened that up. I mean, you couldn't wear shorts in the garage. They wouldn't let you in the
But
garage.
there were
with
so
shorts.
many fan interactions from other things like signings and all that.
I just say they've come
Yeah.
along. They've come a long way in, I think, fan access to the garage area, like a long way.
Mhm.
Now it did get a little out of control in the early 2000s when they started opening that up, and they were kind of learning like, how do we do this without flooding,
Mhm.
open the floodgates. I mean, there was a year or two there where it was total chaos and people were getting run
I was
over.
like, they charge so many people so much money, and it really doesn't allow them anything, though. It's like the point. It's like,
I mean, what did you think they were going to give you something for your money?
yeah,
The track
they just
security,
take.
the security guards don't know the same rules.
They
you
all
walk
have
to one
different-
side, they'll let you in, the other guy won't, and they think they're both right.
Yeah. No, they just like suck the fun out of being in the garage area.
Oh yeah, I remember this with Martin Moore. What years in NASCAR played with the smaller fuel cells to make it more interesting? They did that in Cup 2 with the Speedway cars. Remember that? Went from a 22 to 18 gallon, and then they did that with the trucks and all that. I think that was, if I remember right, Martin, I think that all started at Daytona and Talladega, and the thought process, I think, was to break up the drafting to have more pit stops, which I didn't quite follow that path, train of thought, but
So everybody still runs out at the same time.
right. You got more people on pit road doing dangerous stuff than before. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's why they did that.
It was like at Rockingham, there was like all kinds of women that just like jumped over pit road and stuff when the cars were still live on the track, when the race was ended. You remember that?
Yeah.
When the cars were still live, not even in, but that was allowed. But you can't, they just yell at you for stupid shit.
Rockingham was cool because of the lack of security. Like
Yeah.
during the Xfinity race, we were just standing on the backstretch pit wall, and there's nobody there to tell you to back up. Like
Dan.
Dan, not Walrus.
Every week, Dan. Every week.
I remember the days of pants only for pit road garage access, having phenomenal swamp butt, absolutely melting in 90-degree air. It was awful trying to find shade.
There was no shade.
Walking quickly, carrying a shock absorber was always the best.
Yeah. That's true professional
Okay.
right there, Jason.
I think
She's
it's
eating.
great that Matt Tift is bringing back Mansfield. It's one more racetrack that is not going to be gone forever.
I hope he succeeds.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big project.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of look at what Rockingham went through to get back to where it's at. I mean, I'm pulling for him. They used to have some great truck races up there.
I think he's got the resources to do it, and Matt's done a really good job with the social media stuff. I don't know.
He's doing great.
He kind of came out of nowhere, and I've seen a lot of his reels and stuff like that's really funny. Like there's a lot of effort and creativity that goes into that. I think he's good. I'd like to see him do more stuff.
I'm gonna have to duck out here pretty soon because I have customers here that we got to do an intake on a car.
Okay. Well, I got a car to work on too, so maybe we'll just wrap this up. Anybody got your last minute questions? Get them in because we're about to get back to work. Nobody got any last minute?
Oh yeah, super modified racing. Oh, those are my favorite, especially when they run them at Loudon and Phoenix.
Stay cool. Yeah, that's why we're sitting right at the door where the AC is, so it can get on our legs. Because if we move back about 10 feet, it's like 15 degrees hotter.
Oh, it's still hot.
Yeah,
There you go. What's your favorite car of all time?
it's my favorite car of all time.
NASCAR. Like I said.
I don't know.
Should answer Jason's
It's
question.
hard to beat the Aero Coupe Monte Carlos. I thought those were cool looking.
Mine's sitting right there. Got that big wing hanging off the back of it.
Yeah, those are pretty much anything before 1988
Yeah.
is like cool. You can't go wrong.
I mean, I did number 71 Bobby Isaac Dodge Daytona.
When will I be racing again? Probably like a month.
I don't think it'll be that long. A few weeks.
Well, if I don't make the next two races, then the next race after that is August 2nd. So
I think we could make it to the 12th, possibly, if we work.
a week from now.
Oh, there you go. Front steer and rear steer. Hey, Jason, that's a good question. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know much about the rear steer stuff, mainly because the only rear steer car that I ever worked on was in 1994 at Rick Mass. We had a rear steer speedway car, banjo car, that they ran one time and then put a Laughlin clip on it after we ran it, or banjo, because banjo really never did too many front steer clips. I think he did, but he didn't. So I mean, I've worked on some in the restoration process. They're kind of a pain, for obvious reasons with everything under the oil pan. But I'm not really qualified to answer that question on what I think the difference is, because all I really know is the front steer stuff.
Hawkeye laser tent. Maybe they should get rid of that thing too. Oh, we got another dog coming in here.
He found her treat.
So, comments kind of slow down. What do you think? We should wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything, guys. Hope you
Yeah.
had a good time. I
Thank
always
you.
like spending time with Mitch and Logan. We've done a lot of neat stuff over the years, and hopefully we'll continue to do it. It's kind of like my stepson, since his car's taking up half my shop.
Yeah.
Maybe
Looks
he'll
like
post a picture of it later.
you got a big shop now,
Yeah.
so that's okay. This stream will be, if you didn't catch the beginning, it'll be published, so you can go back and watch it like a normal video. So if you just got here, don't worry about it. You can still see it.
And that means hopefully Joe will go back and
Yeah, we'll find
find
Joe.
Joe. I like Joe. No hard feelings. Just, show up here with your suitcase and we'll give you a job. I think I would like you.
All right, we'll end with that.
Would you hire him just to fire him?
That was